There was obvious worry on her pretty face. Nicole Albia rushed forward and grabbed Lin Yan's arm. After living together for a period of time recently, she also had some understanding of the character of the man in front of her. Just like before, go straight to the tree of omniscient without explaining anything. Nicole Albia knew something was going to happen. Don't worry, it's okay for now. Seeing Nicole Albia's extremely panicked look, Lin Yan smiled softly. Then, as if he suddenly remembered something, he asked Nicole Albia directly. Concerning your former companions, did they leave any life papers? Some. Nicole Albia nodded immediately. Speaking of life paper, it is actually quite common. Many people leave life paper with their relatives and friends when they go to sea. It can be regarded as a special way of reporting safety. Those scholars who once searched for the historical truth with Nicole Albia left the paper of life on the tree of omniscientity. Nicole Albia happened to have it in her hands. It was given to her by the scholars out of caution when she returned to Ohara alone. The original intention was to allow Nicole Albia to do things with peace of mind, and to serve as a beacon to find them when she returned. Unexpectedly, it has now become a warning sign. Nicole Albia also knew that the matter might be serious, so without saying anything, she turned back to the house and got a stack of life papers. There are signs of tearing on the edges. This is a very peculiar prop. It is connected to the life of its owner. The torn paper of life will point in the direction of its owner at any time. If the life paper is intact, it is safe. If you fall into weakness, the paper of life will shrink. And if it slowly burns into ashes, it proves that death is not far away. At this time, the paper of life in Nicole Albia's hand was intact, which at least proved that the current safety of those scholars was not a problem. Nicole Albia was obviously relieved and asked Lin Yan while holding the life paper. Are they in any danger? No, this is a disaster for the whole of Ohara. Under Nicole Albia's sudden change of expression, Lin Yan shook his head and said, Albia, what I say next is very important. You must listen carefully every word. It is related to your and Robin's lives. Do you understand? Nicole Albia did not answer, but nodded solemnly, and sweat began to appear on her palms. She knew that the Lin Yan in front of her was not a person who liked to joke. But that's why. Nicole Albia was extremely worried. So in the next period of time, Lin Yan informed the next decision to withdraw all Ohara scholars, as well as Dr. Clover's choice. As said before, for Ohara, this kind of giving up seems very heavy, but in order to pass on the knowledge alive, this is something that can't be helped. As for the handling of Nicole Albia and Robin, Albia, you have to retreat with the scholars of Ohara and live in a corner that no one knows about. As for Robin, she has to stay in Ohara. Lin Yan looked at Nicole Albia in front of him seriously and spoke carefully. Then of course, this proposal naturally encountered strong opposition from women. I disagree. As soon as she heard that Robin was going to be left behind in Ohara, which was about to be destroyed, Nicole Albia shook her head without even thinking about it. As a mother, she had already abandoned Robin once, and she would never do it again. Why would you say such a thing? How could I be separated from Robin? Especially at a time like this. Nicole Albia looked at Lin Yan and asked. She didn't understand why for any reason. If Ohara is really about to be destroyed, wouldn't it be a better choice to leave with Robin? However, Lin Yan just shook his head. This is the way to keep both of you alive. It's not absolute, but it is undoubtedly the safest. Lin Yan looked at the woman in front of him quietly. I can't tell you the specific reason, and when Ohara is destroyed, it will be time for me to leave. There are many things involved in this, but I promise that I will give you an explanation when we meet again. Lin Yan said to Nicole Albia very seriously. As mentioned before, this is the fate Robin must face. The little Hancock before was just a slave. Kuina was just a girl who unfortunately died young while pursuing her dreams. Even if it changes their fate, the impact will not be great. Hancock is still the Empress of Nine Snake Island, but without the hooves of celestial dragons on her back. Kuina was given a second life, and she was just a girl pursuing her dreams. But Robin is different. The only being who can interpret the text of history, the son of the devil, the survivor of Ohara. Simply put, the world government's murderous intention towards Robin is not at the same level as Hancock Kuina. As long as there is a chance, there's no way Robin can survive. This is also the reason why Lin Yan insists on letting Robin stay in Ohara. The only chance to protect Robin and reunite with her is not to change her heavy fate. The destruction of Ohara, the death of Nicole Albia, wandering afterwards, and Alabasta's plan to steal the country. This may be a very heavy and hard road. Robin will experience various fates along the way, and when he goes back again, the girl will grow into what she should be. Not perfect, but safe enough. As if sensing the seriousness of Lin Yan's attitude, Nicole Albia did not rush to refute this time, but just looked at the man in front of her quietly. After a while, he asked softly, "Can I ask why you do this?" "In order for Robin not to lose his mother and for the survival of the entire Ohara. This is the safest way I can think of." Lin Yan also looked at Nicole Albia in front of him seriously. Then he stared closely into the woman's eyes, and suddenly a smile appeared on his face. "Robin will have a hard time growing up into what she should be alone, but when the two of us meet again, you and she will have a perfect ending. So, Nicole Albia, are you willing to believe me?" Nicole Albia exhaled and looked at Lin Yan with eyes full of incomprehensible meaning. "Who are you? Didn't I tell you before? It's just a traveler passing by chance." "I understand. If you dare to lie to me, I will definitely bite you to death." Nicole Albia finally accepted it, out of trust in Lin Yan in front of him. Although she didn't understand why at all, if this was the only way to safely protect Robin, she would force herself to do it no matter how heartbroken she was. "See you again in the future. Well, let's do it this way." Seeing Nicole Albia agree, Lin Yan smiled and nodded, then stretched out his hand into the void and threw an object to the woman. "This is token. When the time comes for us to meet again, I will take this thing and bring Robin with me to find you. Then everything will be over." Lin Yan explained with a smile. Nicole Albia immediately looked at the object in her hand. It was a piece of glass made of strange material. EMMMMM. In fact, it is a mobile phone to be precise. There was no way around it. When fishing, Lin Yan would always catch something that was of no use at all, and the system didn't even bother to prompt him. These two phones are one of them. No one in the world can fake it. Of course it's perfect as a keepsake. I understand. When will you come back? Nicole Albia nodded, accepted the token solemnly, then looked at Lin Yan and asked. "It will take a long time, and I'm not sure exactly." Lin Yan shook his head. The destruction of Ohara has been a long time away from the era he lived in. As Lin Yan himself said, he came here only because of some special fate. "I don't know when we will meet again." Will Nicole Albia in front of her be shocked if she knows her true identity? Hearing this answer, Nicole Albia couldn't help biting her lip. But in the end I decided to believe Lin Yan. This time, she also risked her life. So naturally there was nothing to say about what happened next. After explaining some specific things to Nicole Albia, the two of them left and went back to rest. Then the days after that were as usual. Ohara was calm on the surface, as if nothing had happened. But in an unknown corner, scholars from the Tree of Omniscient are secretly retreating one after another from the Tree of Omniscient, which was originally a sacred place of knowledge. A large group of puppets have appeared. Recently, Nicole Albia has not been idle either, trying her best to teach little Robin about archaeology. If you don't teach, you don't know. If you teach, you will be shocked. Robin is undoubtedly a genius. The speed at which he mastered knowledge was astonishingly fast. Only a few months later, according to Nicole Albia, Robin was now good enough to become a member of the Tree of Omniscient. But when I think about what will happen next, Nicole Albia was both proud and heartbroken. If possible, she really hopes that Robin can grow up happily like an ordinary person, but all this is necessary. Nicole Albia finally chose to believe in Lin Yan. Of course. The gritty kind. The days passed like this day by day. On this day, Lin Yan had dinner and rested on the beach as usual, looking at the sky and sea in the distance. Then suddenly there was a faint sound of footsteps behind him. Looking back, I saw that Nicole Albia was already standing not far away with an ugly face. "Is there a problem?" Nicole Albia did not speak, but quietly spread her palms, and a ball of ashes after burning paper slowly fell from the woman's palms. "That's it. Are you dead?" Lin Yan nodded clearly. It seemed that something had happened to those scholars as he had expected, and it seemed that none of them survived. In other words, from this moment on, the countdown to Ohara's destruction officially begins. Go say goodbye to Robin, and I'll go to Dr. Clover. Lin Yan stood up and showed a gentle smile to Nicole Albia. If nothing else happened, not only Robin, but also himself was about to leave. Nicole Albia suddenly stepped forward, and with Lin Yan's surprised expression, she reached out and hugged him. "Thank you, and come back as soon as possible. Even if it's just for Robin. Nothing will happen to me." Lin Yan smiled, reached out and patted Nicole Albia on the shoulder. Then, under the woman's gaze, he turned around and walked towards the Tree of Omniscient. Just before leaving, Lin Yan waved his hand to Nicole Albia. After saying goodbye, "Go to the designated place. You are the last group. We will wait until we meet again to talk about the rest. Then I will listen to any complaints you have. Don't you go say goodbye to Robin." Nicole Albia bit her lip and suddenly shouted to Lin Yan loudly. In response, Lin Yan just turned his back to her and shook his head. I'm not good at saying goodbye. Just wait until I come back to find Robin and listen to her complain. With that said, Lin Yan's figure quickly disappeared into the woods. Nicole Albia was left standing there blankly. After a while, the woman couldn't help but grit her teeth. I hate mysterious men the most. All in all, regardless of Nicole Albia's complaints, Lin Yan didn't take much time and quickly arrived in front of the tree of omniscient. Very different from a few months ago. There are not many living people left in the tree of omniscientity now. That's what it means literally. Even the 2 guards at the door were puppets made by Lin Yan out of small animals to scare people. Well, it was transformed from an old turtle. The pestle just stays in place with almost no other movements, and it doesn't make any sounds. It can be said that it is very easy to use. Lin Yan walked directly past the 2 guards and walked into the tree of omniscient. It didn't take much effort to find Dr. Clover's location. You're here. Hey, if possible, I hope you never show up. Dr. Clover sighed. It seems that I have been waiting here for a long time. There was also a ball of black ash on his desk. It seemed that he already knew about the murder of the scholars. In this case, there was no need to explain more. So Lin Yan spoke straightforwardly. This is not realistic, and where is my reward? It has been prepared for you a long time ago. Dr. Clover sighed again, then reached under the table and pulled out a document. Here, the interpretation of the agreed historical text. Lin Yan reached out and took the document with great satisfaction. That's quite a lot of information. The result of Ohara's scholars working day and night, it is also what the world government desperately wants to destroy. Buzz. Then the moment Lin Yan got the interpretation information. The time train in the void suddenly erupted with a strange wave, as if to remind Lin Yan that it was time to leave. Lin Yan couldn't help but smile lightly. It seemed that my intuition was not wrong. But now is not the time to leave. Putting away the information with a calm expression, Lin Yan nodded seriously. I have indeed received the reward, so according to the agreement, I will protect the scholars of Ohara to the best of my ability. Then it's up to you. Dr. Clover breathed a sigh of relief, and his movements became much more relaxed. Lin Yan looked at Dr. Clover like this, paused slightly, and finally spoke slowly. You shouldn't need me to remind you, right? This is the last chance to escape. Do you and the last few people really want to leave? No need. Dr. Clover smiled and shook his head. If what I think is correct, guests will be coming here soon, and we old guys need to treat the guests well. Old man, I still say the same thing. If you can save it, try it. If you can't, forget it. Then I'll still say the same thing, I'll try my best. Lin Yan nodded clearly. Now that the other party has made up his mind, his attempts to persuade him are useless. Besides, just like what Dr. Clover said, they, the top old guys in the academic world, still have important guests to receive later. After a period of time, Lin Yan finally exchanged a few words with Dr. Clover in front of him, then stood up and prepared to leave. Just when Lin Yan was about to go out, Dr. Clover's hearty voice came. Speaking of which, I still don't know your name, but forget it, it's not a big deal. Ohara, I'll leave it to you. Hearing this, Lin Yan's footsteps paused slightly. Then under Dr. Clover's somewhat surprised gaze, Lin Yan turned his head and smiled. Ah, in the name of the 5th Emperor of the Sea, I promise. After saying that, he turned around and left without hesitation. Dr. Clover sat there blankly, looking at where Lin Yan left. After a while, he seemed to have figured out something and laughed heartily. The 5th Emperor. If it's true, it's really amazing. So naturally there is nothing to say about what happened next. Time passed and it came to the next morning. Well, little Robin opened his eyes in a daze, but he didn't jump up as usual to find his big brother who could tell him a story gently. Because now, I am alone again. Last night, my mother came to see me and said that she was leaving with her big brother to a faraway place and that she might not come back for a long time. Little Robin is a little uninterested. After procrastinating for a long time, I finally finished washing and opened the door and walked out. But the beach at home today is a little different. Not far away, there is something very concerning. Little Robin's eyes widened. Corpse. Good luck. Someone died in front of my house. Little Robin's face instantly turned pale, and he looked at the huge body, lying on the beach not far from his home with trepidation. What to do? Should I go to the tree of omniscient to find Grandpa Doctor now? Or just pretend you didn't see anything? However, this reaction obviously aroused dissatisfaction from another person. Hey he. How rude. I'm not a corpse, but a race of giants, a race of giants. Under the astonished gaze of little Robin, the giant let out a weird laugh, and then stood up directly. Well, Please introduce yourself. I am Hagwell D. Saul, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Just call me Saul. Where are you, little girl? Maybe he knows that he looks scary. Saul tried his best to put a gentle smile on his face and asked little Robin. Little Robin carefully observed the giant in front of her, and her intuition told her that he was not a bad guy, so she nodded happily. This is Ohara, and this is the door of my house. Big man, why are you here? Did you drift over from the sea? Little Robin asked curiously. Varied? However, after hearing her words, Saul's expression changed drastically. What did you say? This is Ohara. Cold sweat began to trickle down on Saul's forehead. This is no wonder. After all, it's Ohara he's meowing here. Marine's buster call is coming this way now. Why the hell did he get so unlucky that he ended up in Ohara? Big guy. Seeing the other party's shivering appearance, little Robin suddenly felt even more strange and couldn't help but ask curiously. Well. Saul, who was in panic, came back to his senses and looked at the little Robin in front of him. Especially after meeting his innocent eyes, he was a little hesitant for a moment. You might really die if you do this. But in the end, Saul gritted his teeth. Never mind. Just beg him. 10,000 years. Little girl. Get out of here before it's too late. You can go anywhere. Ohara will be destroyed soon. This is the marshal's order. Saul yelled at Robin anxiously. Little Robin was shocked. Ohara is going to be destroyed. When did this happen? Little Robin ran away. He had to tell the doctor the news immediately. And Saul looked at Robin's leaving figure and couldn't help but sigh softly. Is this fate? Yes, the power of fate is really terrifying. Originally it was just self-pity and self-destruction, but suddenly a voice of echo came from not far away. Saul was startled and quickly looked in the direction of the sound. At some point, a sneaky guy covered in black paint stood there. It looks very suspicious. After all, in Saul's impression, guys dressed like this are generally not good people. This person is naturally Lin Yan. In fact, he had been nearby to watch over Robin since last night, so as not to have time to deal with anything unexpected. I just didn't expect that Saul would actually come here. Is this the so-called destiny? Lin Yan's expression was a little helpless. After all, in the original work, Saul came here because Nicole Orbia made him doubt whether Marine's justice was correct, so he defected and came to Ohara by accident. Nothing happens to Nicole Orbia now. Unexpectedly, he still showed up. It has to be said that no one has this correction power. Your Excellency. However, Saul didn't know what Lin Yan was thinking, and he immediately became wary. As Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, he smelled an extremely dangerous smell from the strange man in front of him. Give up, you can't be my opponent. However, Lin Yan just waved his hand indifferently. Rather than this, I care more about why you appear here. Logically speaking, haven't all those scholars been killed? Saul was startled again. Do you even know such confidential information? Saul's eyes became solemn. He hesitated for a long time, and finally nodded. Yes, what exactly do you mean? It's okay. You're going to die soon. Well, it should be a few days later. I happen to be able to save your life, but you have to pay me. Lin Yan smiled at Saul in front of him. Is this a curse to kill me? Saul twisted his eyebrows in displeasure. However, Lin Yan ignored him. As for the little girl from before, I have seen your decision. To be honest, I am very satisfied. All in all, go and protect her first. You can't leave Ohara anyway, can you? What on earth are you? Saul was stunned and was about to ask again, but found that there was still half a shadow where he was. Saul. Why is this man like a ghost? Is it fun to play tricks on others? I will not die here? Saul thought this angrily, but even so, the little girl from before still made him care a lot. That's all. Let's just uphold justice in the end. He. After all, I still couldn't leave it alone. Saul quickly made up his mind and chased after Robin in the direction where he ran away. Even if it's just to protect one person, being a Marine. Even he has justice that he must never give up. Lin Yan stood high in the sky, overlooking Saul's move to chase little Robin, and couldn't help but nodded with satisfaction. There is a saying, this giant can handle it. Originally, Lin Yan had almost forgotten his existence, but now that he is here, it would be good to leave little Robin a guarantee before leaving. Just like Fisher Tiger was to little Hancock before. Just in secret. After touching his chin and thinking for a while, Lin Yan had no intention of staying any longer. He quickly disappeared on the spot and continued to lurk. At the same time, little Robin also walked out of the tree of omniscient with a disappointed look on his face. Obviously I am already very anxious. Why is Grandpa Doctor still smiling? Little Robin was a little depressed. This is a matter of course, after all, I was perfunctory before. Then at this depressed moment, the strange giant from before walked towards him. Seeing the other party, little Robin immediately became angry. Why did you lie to me? Little Robin glared at Saul in front of him angrily. Looking at the angry little Robin in front of him, Saul couldn't help but ask a question slowly. It took him a long time to realize that this little girl thought he was lying to her when he said Ohara was going to be destroyed. Saul didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but there was no explanation. Sometimes the truth is too heavy and should not be something that the little guy in front of him has to bear, so Saul immediately laughed heartily. Hey he. Maybe I remembered it wrong. I'm sorry, little girl. It was a waste of time for you to make this trip. Fine. After hearing the other party's apology, little Robin quickly forgave him. No wonder the doctor's grandfather didn't react at all after hearing this, and even smiled and said that he should go home early. It turned out to be a lie. Scared me. Little Robin patted her heart very cutely, and then looked at Saul in front of her curiously. Big man, are you really the legendary giant? This is the first time I've seen it. Hey he. Of course it's true, let's go home together and I'll show you my skills. Saul smiled heartily. Although I don't know exactly who the mysterious guy was before. But if you just protect the little girl in front of you. He was still very happy. So naturally there is nothing to say about what happens next. Even after Saul joined, little Robin's life still did not undergo any strange changes. At most, it's just a strange big friend. Now that his mother and elder brother are gone, Saul can be regarded as a very good playmate for little Robin. As the relationship deepens, Saul also likes the lively little Robin very much. You can always hear Saul's crazy laughter as a giant on the beach. A few peaceful days passed. On this day, Robin went to see Dr. Clover to learn archaeological knowledge as usual, while Saul sat bored on the beach and looked at the sea in the distance. It seems like you're doing well? Then Lin Yan appeared again without anyone noticing. He'd also been watching Saul in recent days. Just like in the original work, this giant can indeed handle it. After confirming this, Lin Yan decided to leave little Robin to Saul to take care of him while he was away. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral's strength is a bit weak, but it's barely enough. Don't be too cautious yet. Just like what I said before, I'm afraid you will die soon. How have you considered the deal I mentioned before? Raising his hand to interrupt Saul's alert look, Lin Yan narrowed his eyes and said. You put. Saul was about to start spraying when he saw Lin Yan pointing to a certain point on the sea surface lightly. Don't rush to refute. What do you think that is? Saul looked over suspiciously, and then his expression suddenly changed in the next second. At some point, the shadows of a large number of warships appeared on the distant sea level. Of course Saul knew what this scene meant. Buster call. It seems you know, so what's the choice? Lin Yan looked at Saul with a smile. Are you going to run away like before, or are you going to fight? If you are Marine, you can at least be sheltered by one person, right? Saul fell into silence. After a while, he nodded to Lin Yan seriously. What reward should I give you for the deal I mentioned before? Saul looked at Lin Yan seriously and asked. Now that the Buster call is so close, he has no choice but to believe in the mysterious guy in front of him. Not to mention that he is a giant, whether such a conspicuous target can escape under Marine's nose. Just spending the last few days with Robin, Saul has long regarded that cute little guy as his friend. People like him. You will never abandon your friends. Very well, since you have agreed to the deal, I will ask you for payment after the matter is over. Seeing Saul's decision, Lin Yan nodded with satisfaction. Then, with Saul's confused expression, his whole person suddenly disappeared from where he was. Saul. Are you King teasing me? Here's the deal. Is it okay to sneak away by myself? But now is obviously not the time to talk about this. Although he was somewhat depressed by the mysterious guy, Saul quickly came to his senses. Even if you are alone, you must protect Robin's safety. She is still a child. Thinking of this, Saul didn't care much and rushed towards the tree of omniscient tea in a hurry. At this moment, Lin Yan came to the sea outside Ohara. He wasn't trying to frame Saul, but stay here and buy the necessary time for everything that comes next. Well, let me give you some color to taste first. Lin Yan stood on the sea, then snapped his fingers with a smile. Although he wanted to protect Robin, this time he didn't plan to attack Marine directly like he did when little Hancock did. But it's okay to cause some trouble for them. It's just an ordinary natural disaster. What does it have to do with me? Rumble. In an instant, thunder filled the sky, and a huge storm was about to form. Marine on Buster call naturally noticed this. Look. What is that? Storm. Why the hell is it happening at this time? Quick. Get ready. Watch the people around you. Naturally, the Marines were in a commotion. Only those at the general level remained calm. That guy Aokiji, has he passed? Akainu, who was still very young at that time, stood on the bow of the flagship, his voice cold and majestic, completely different from his appearance later. Although the character is still the same black and white. Yes, Aokiji Vice Admiral has already landed on the island. I believe our operation will go very smoothly this time. One of the Vice Admirals said to Akainu respectfully. Akainu just nodded noncommittally. Easy? Of course it is very easy. Knowing that it was Buster Call who destroyed Ohara this time, how could there be any accidents? No one on this island can escape. Thinking about it, Akainu raised the corners of his mouth slightly. It's just a storm. How can it stop us from moving forward? Everyone, listen to the order and surround Ohara. Don't let out a single fly. Violators will be punished under military law. Yes. Marines' warships slowly surrounded Ohara. Lin Yan, on the other hand, didn't pay attention at all. Listening to Akainu's high-spirited order, he just curled his lips in disdain, and then disappeared again in a flash. When the person appeared again, he suddenly ran into the laboratory of Dr. Clover, the Tree of Omniscience. There was no intention of being discovered. Lin Yan was hidden in the corner. Even if he was seen, he would probably only think that there was only a shadow there. At this time, Dr. Clover's face was ashen. I said, I have nothing to tell you. Aren't you afraid of the consequences if you do this? Dr. Clover glared at the man in front of him. Lin Yan also happens to be very familiar with this person. It is the commander of CP9, Spangdine, a guy who is rotten from the inside out and as despicable as a maggot. However, at this time, Spangdine's smile looked extremely arrogant. The consequences? Let me tell you, this is an order personally issued by the top leaders of the world government, and those archaeologists have already been executed. You know what this means, right? Old man, it won't do any good to deny it now. Why don't you surrender obediently? Maybe I can spare your life. Spangdine said with a smile. At the same time, he raised the golden phone bug in his hand. This is the purview of Buster Call. It is also the highest level of force in the entire world, and no one has ever dared to resist. Those who resisted died. Dr. Clover glared at the man in front of him, especially after hearing that all the Ohara scholars together with Nicole Orbia had been executed. A trace of sadness could not help but flash in his eyes. Compared with these old guys who are half-stepping into the coffin, these outstanding young scholars are the real wealth of Ohara. 33 died this time. How can Dr. Clover not be heartbroken? Looking at the extremely arrogant Spangdine in front of him, he already had the consciousness to die together with him. And as if he noticed Dr. Clover's eyes, Spangdine laughed disdainfully. Hey, you don't want to fight me, do you? I am the commander of CP9. Do you know the consequences of killing me? Besides, you can't do it at all. The golden telephone bug is held high in the hand, representing power and dominance. Spangdane laughed at the old man in front of him wantonly. It seems that he doesn't feel bad at all. But what Spangdane didn't notice was that while he was laughing wildly, a bottle of potion suddenly rolled down slowly on the bookcase against which the back of the chair was leaning. Boom, then there was a crisp sound, directly hitting his head. It was probably some kind of extremely corrosive solution. As soon as it came into contact, Spangdine screamed like a slaughtered pig. The skin on the face was dissolved easily and it looked very painful. Old man. You plotted against me. Under the severe pain, Spangdane's true colors were revealed in an instant, with a ferocious expression on his face, and he pointed his gun directly at Dr. Clover in front of him. In his opinion, if the old guy in front of him hadn't put this bottle of solution here, he wouldn't have been injured. Everyone in Ohara deserves to die. Under Dr. Clover's somewhat stunned expression, Spangdane pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang. With a loud noise, Dr. Clover's body fell softly to the ground. What Spangdane didn't notice was that at the moment he fired, the old man's figure seemed to flash suddenly. Boom, boom, boom. Looking at Dr. Clover lying on the ground, Spangdane had a ferocious expression on his face and fired a few more shots without hesitation. The joy of revenge flashed in his eyes. Of course, being tortured by the severe pain and almost going crazy, he certainly didn't realize anything was wrong. In fact, he was just incompetent and furious. And he didn't realize the seriousness of the matter at all. That bottle of solution is no ordinary thing. At the same moment, Lin Yan had already flashed to an inconspicuous wasteland in Ohara, and the Kamui space fluctuated, releasing the confused Dr. Clover. It was obviously the first time he encountered such a thing. Dr. Clover's expression looked extremely confused. It was not until he noticed Lin Yan beside him that his expression gradually calmed down. Did you just Dr. Clover looked at Lin Yan curiously and asked. After all, he just felt a blur in front of his eyes, and everything around him disappeared in an instant. When he came back to his senses, he had been taken out of the tree of omniscience. It's just a small trick, don't mind it. Lin Yan smiled at Dr. Clover. I said, if I can, I will save you. Dr. Clover was silent. Is this just a small trick? How many secrets does this man in front of me have? The previous methods don't look like something ordinary people can do, right? At least Dr. Clover had never heard of it. But now is not the time to care about these things. A trace of worry flashed in Dr. Clover's eyes. Hey, it's good that I came out like this, but that man. What if a flaw is discovered? Don't worry about that. Lin Yan smiled and shook his head. When I brought you out, I had already put the puppet down on the spot. That man should be just furious at the puppet's incompetence. Lin Yan's smile contained inexplicable malice. To be honest, he really hated Spangdine. Not only because that guy is Ohara's enemy at this time, but more importantly, Lin Yan really doesn't like his despicable appearance, which is as vicious as a maggot and afraid of death. That's right, the bottle of solution that was dunked on Spangdine's head was Lin Yan's handiwork. And there are a lot of ingredients added to it. If nothing happens, Spangdine will suffer from the pain of bone erosion all the time, and then until he dies in a corner where no one cares. The so-called maggots just burn up in the corner. I just don't know if this guy will have a son after he dies. Lin Yan thought this maliciously. Huh, that's it. After hearing this, Dr. Clover breathed a sigh of relief, and Lin Yan also smiled and nodded to him. That's pretty much it. You stay where you are and don't move around. I'll take the people out first. With that said, under Dr. Clover's stunned expression, Lin Yan disappeared again. Dr. Clover stood there blankly and couldn't help but sigh softly. At the same time, there was obvious gratitude to Lin Yan in his eyes. If it weren't for the existence of this mysterious man. Today's Ohara. I'm afraid it's really impossible to escape the end of destruction. So the next thing is naturally very simple. Under Dr. Clover's stunned eyes, Lin Yan followed suit and quickly brought out the last group of old scholars who were determined to stay in the Tree of Omniscience. And as for what lies in the Tree of Omniscience, of course they are all puppets. Well, then there are a bunch of disfigured agents. He is nothing more than a lackey of the world government, and it would be a shame to die. I really don't know how to thank you. Seeing that his companions were all safe, Dr. Clover was so excited that his whole body was trembling, and then he nodded deeply to Lin Yan. No matter what the outcome is today, they all remembered this love. However, Lin Yan smiled nonchalantly at Dr. Clover's thanks. Needless to say so much, this is just one part of the transaction, and I have already received the reward, right? Lin Yan smiled at Dr. Clover. At least this matter won't be too much for me to handle, and for you. This guarantee is absolute. Lin Yan said this with great confidence. He is the 5th Emperor of the Sea. At the same time, he possesses the power at the top of the world. Even if it is just a casual guarantee, it is of course absolute. In that case, we old guys won't get in the way here. Dr. Clover also laughed. At this moment, facing the disaster of Ohara, they scholars are completely powerless. Preserving the knowledge in their heads and passing on the fire of Ohara is the only thing they can do. Indeed, it's time for you to withdraw. Lin Yan nodded slightly. Immediately, there was no movement, just a flurry of space, and everyone except Lin Yan disappeared in an instant. According to the plan, the Ohara scholars who leave here safely will live in seclusion on an unknown desert island and will no longer engage in any research on historical texts until they return. That's it. Ohara at this moment. Except for Robin Saul and himself, there is no one left alive. Then. The last thing comes next. As if sensing something, Lin Yan suddenly narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction of the Tree of Omniscient. The Omniscient Tree, which used to be the sacred place of Ohara, has now burst into flames, and it is finally time to end it. Seeing the Tree of Omniscient burning under the blazing flames, Lin Yan sighed inaudibly. If I were the leader of the world government, I would definitely do the same. Ohara itself cannot be preserved after all. Lin Yan said he was emotionally stable. Slowly snapping his fingers, and using the power of the Holy Grail of the Netherworld, Lin Yan controlled the entire Ohara puppets to run away, pretending to fly away when a disaster was approaching. After doing all this, he walked directly in the direction of Robin's house. For this trip, this is the final battlefield. As soon as Lin Yan approached the woods, a roar came from the distance from the direction of Robin's house. Kuzan. You are so shameless, it seems that it has already started. The moment he heard this roar, Lin Yan's eyes suddenly moved. Without saying a word, he immediately hid himself and flew high into the sky, watching the scene with interest. At this time Yusaro was confronting the young Aokiji. He's still a child. Yusaro, who had always had a simple and honest expression, showed a rare angry expression and roared at Aokiji in front of him. This is Buster Call's mission. No one can walk out of Ohara today. Aokiji responded calmly. But even so, there was still a hint of complexity in his eyes unconsciously. Aokiji was still very young at that time. There is neither the glory of being an admiral in the future nor the power to dominate the world. Nor did he suddenly let go of everything and return to ordinary indifference. But even Aokiji at this time. In my heart, I was already a little shaken by Marine's so-called justice. As Yusaro said in front of him, Robin is just a child. Even he was a little hesitant at this time. Saul, get out of the way. This is not something you and I can decide. After a while, Aokiji sighed softly, and ice formed on half of his body again, as if to tell Saul that he was ready to take action. Saul's eyes sharpened. I also know in my heart that I am definitely no match for Aokiji. Although they are both vice admirals, he is a real monster. So Saul made a quick decision and shouted directly at Robin, who was shivering behind him. Go. Go as far as possible. Don't ever come back here. With that said, he faced Aokiji's attack resolutely. Even Aokiji, facing this scene, had a flash of regret in his eyes unconsciously. Saul is his good friend, one of the few friends in Marine that he can talk to. But now he had to raise the butcher knife. Come on. Let me see your strength. On the contrary, Saul was very open-minded. Since he knew he was going to die, he naturally had no worries. As a Marine, I upheld justice at the last moment, and that was enough. The confrontation between the two is inevitable. However, the moment Aokiji was about to touch Saul, boom, a roar suddenly erupted on the sea. The expressions of the two people changed drastically, and they stopped unconsciously. On the distant sea, the wreckage of a large ship with the Ohara logo was slowly sinking to the bottom of the sea. Soulless. Sakazuki, what the hell? Even Aokiji couldn't help but curse. Everyone could tell that it was just a refugee ship. Are you crazy? Saul's eyes were extremely gloomy, suppressing the anger in his heart and looking directly at Aokiji in front of him. Is this what you call justice? Shelling the refugee ship? Can you still feel at ease like this? Aokiji was speechless. But even so, the man still stood there without making any move. It seemed that he was not going to get out of the way no matter what. When Saul saw this, he knew that persuasion was useless, so he had to put up a posture again. Big guy. Robin, who had been standing blankly behind Saul, seemed to have a premonition of what was going to happen. He suppressed the fear in his heart and whispered to Saul. In response, Saul just showed a simple smile. Robin, go to the sea and survive. One day, you will be able to find a partner who is willing to sacrifice everything for you. At that time, you can realize your dreams together. My road seems to end here. After saying that, Saul turned his head resolutely and tried his best to block Aokiji's attack. But the gap in strength between the two is too huge. Even if you try your best to block it, it will be useless in the end. In the ultimate cold, Saul is slowly frozen. Aokiji stood there, speechless for a long time. He just pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose to cover up all the emotions in his eyes. No matter how many reasons he had, Saul was already on the opposite side of Marine. Justice is something that changes depending on one's position. He couldn't bear to see his friend die at the hands of CP. Then at least, come to an end by yourself. Now, he has killed his friend. So next, how many sins will we have to bear for the sake of justice? Aokiji doesn't know. I don't want to think about this kind of thing. Woo. On the other side, Robin, who was ignored, wiped away his tears, stood up staggeringly, and ran in the other direction. Ohara is filled with firelight. Against the backdrop of Robin's small back. Aokiji didn't stop him, he just watched Robin escape quietly, then sighed and walked towards Ohara. On the beach, only Saul was left covered in ice. The drama has finally come to an end. Lin Yan, who had been watching all this, finally appeared, the man's body reflecting the firelight of the entire Ohara. But Lin Yan's expression didn't change at all. It's so calm that it makes people feel chilling. Lin Yan stepped forward, stretched out his hand and gently tapped Saul, who was frozen in ice. Big man, it's time to wake up. Let's talk about the reward we agreed on before. Lin Yan said lightly. Click. Strangely enough, as Lin Yan said these words, the ice on Saul, who was supposed to have been frozen to death, suddenly began to fall off. Under strange fluctuations, it was as if everything had never happened. After the ice faded, Saul's body, which had lost the breath of life, actually became rosy again. The blood began to flow and consciousness slowly recovered. This is naturally the power of the Holy Grail of the Netherworld. For this highest level holy relic, the resurrection of the dead is really not a big deal. Besides, Saul is only a vice admiral and has just been frozen. Saul slowly opened his eyes. What am I? Probably because he had just regained consciousness and his brain was still a little unclear, Saul's eyes were full of confusion. Facing Saul like this, Lin Yan just smiled lightly. The moment he risked his life to block Aokiji's blow, the giant in front of him gained his approval. I suggest you recover quickly. After all, now is not the time to sit back and watch the excitement. Lin Yan smiled at Saul. How does it feel to come back from the dead? It was only then that Saul finally noticed Lin Yan's existence. Looking at the familiar dark figure, the giant couldn't help but widen his eyes. Who are you? Speak openly and honestly. Saul was confused at this moment. This is no wonder. After all, he had decided to risk his life to protect Robin before, and things developed as he expected, and he soon lost consciousness. But when I opened my eyes again, Robin is not here. Aokiji is gone too. Only this familiar man in black robes was left in front of him. Saul's head was full of questions now. He scratched his head and thought for a long time before he asked blankly. Am I not dead? Did that guy Kuzan show mercy? He won't show mercy to you, at least not now. Lin Yan said this pointedly, and then said directly to Saul. According to the agreement, I saved your life, and now it's time for you to pay me. I heard Lin Yan say this. Only then did Saul realize that he was really about to die just now, and it was this mysterious guy in front of him who saved his life. But it's pretty good to be alive, huh? Thinking of this, Saul showed a simple smile on his face and patted his heart hard. Hey he. I know. We giants always keep our word. Tell me, what reward do you want me to give you? What a generous giant. He didn't have any doubts at all and just believed his own words. Lin Yan shook his head speechlessly. It's very simple. After that, you have to hide your name, and then help me protect Robin in secret. You can't appear in front of her, and you can't reveal my existence until I appear in front of you again. As he spoke, Lin Yan's tone paused slightly. You take this thing, and when I appear in front of you again, this agreement will be completed. Oh right. Where's Robin? Saul suddenly slapped his head, hurriedly took what Lin Yan threw, and then started looking around for Robin. I don't know if I heard it clearly. Lin Yan turned around straightforwardly. Follow me. As he said that, he waved his hand casually and added a layer of buff to hide Saul's aura. The obvious meaning was to let Saul follow him. Saul did not dare to hesitate, ignored his curiosity, and quickly followed Lin Yan's footsteps. And at the same time on the other side, Robin was still running as hard as he could. Try to find anyone you know. Unfortunately there is none. At this time, Ohara was almost burned out. Not to mention the people, even the formerly prosperous streets were in dilapidated condition. Everything as far as the eye could see were the ruins left after the houses collapsed. Robin gave up quickly. The girl held back her tears and ran to the seaside. Her intuition told her that that might be her only chance to escape. However, the opposite happened. At a certain moment, Robin's steps suddenly stopped, and her pretty face instantly turned pale. The reason is also very simple. Aokiji was standing in front of her quietly. Robin gritted his teeth and said nothing. Although he knew that he was definitely no match, the sadness and anger in his heart still made Robin unwilling to back down. Aokiji just stood there without saying a word, just looking at the stubborn girl quietly. A long while. Under Robin's surprised expression, Aokiji slowly stepped aside. Behind the man, a small boat docked quietly on the coast. Leave. Enough has happened in Ohara today. I don't want to see more people die here. Aokiji sat on a rock by the roadside and let out a long breath. I want to see how far the seeds that Saul guarded with his life will grow in the end. Ignoring Robin's shocked eyes, Aokiji said calmly. After you go out, live a low-key life. Before you lose the ability, forget everything about this place. It's best not to remember it forever. Having said that, Aokiji stopped talking. Robin gritted his teeth, then rushed towards the boat regardless, and soon left Aokiji's sight. Aokiji remained silent. Then he slowly stood up and walked towards Ohara, who was about to turn into ashes. What exactly is justice? Now he can no longer see clearly. But I hope the decision to let Robin go today will not be a mistake. Live and prove it to me. Whispering softly in his heart, Aokiji's figure slowly disappeared among the embers brought by the sky-high firelight. What Aokiji doesn't know is, what he just did was completely seen by the other two people. Hey he. Kuzan is quite a good guy. He actually did this in the end. I was a little surprised. Saul laughed heartily. Obviously very satisfied with Aokiji's final decision. Lin Yan in front of her also had a smile in her eyes. Although compared to the Aokiji under his command in the future, the current Aokiji is still insufficient in various senses, but this is good. No matter how he changes, Aokiji has never been a person who can make ruthless decisions. This is his weakness. It is also the most valuable thing about him. Sometimes it's not black and white but indecision, and that's not a bad thing. Thinking about it, Lin Yan reached out and patted Saul beside him. Go ahead and protect Robin until the day I come back. Hey he. Of course. Saul agreed with a big smile. Even if it's not for the so-called reward, this is what he will definitely do next. That girl already carries her own future expectations and Aokiji's hopes. He would never see anything happen to Robin. But before leaving, the honest giant scratched his head. After all, he couldn't hold back his curiosity and turned to Lin Yan and asked. Who? Are you? Why can't Robin know? Only for this matter, Saul was puzzled. After all, look at Lin Yan. Robin must be a very important person to him. If that's the case, why can't even the name be revealed? He doesn't have to be curious about Lin Yan's true identity, or he doesn't mind how Lin Yan saved him. Of course, he can also secretly protect Robin according to the wishes of the man in front of him, but only for Lin Yan who doesn't tell his existence. Robin thing. Saul was a little confused. After all, I knew that under such an arrangement, Robin's life would be very difficult in the future. Even a simple giant can easily think of this. However, regarding this issue, Lin Yan only left Saul with a back view in the end. Don't think so much. I also have my own reasons. You will know when the time comes. Saul left confused. Although he was not very clear about what Lin Yan meant in his words. But no matter what, there is only one thing that I need to do. Even if this mysterious man never comes back, he will always protect Robin. And for Lin Yan, as long as he does this, it will be enough. So at this point, Ohara's matter has finally come to an end. Just like in history, this famous island of scholars did not escape the fate of destruction in the end. But this is nothing to worry about, as said before. The most precious thing in Ohara has never been any cultural relics or heritage, but what is in the minds of scholars. Although my hometown was destroyed, everyone who should have survived survived. This is the best outcome. At least for now. It's definitely the best. But if you think about it carefully, it's really a pity that it was destroyed directly like this. Standing in the sky, watching the entire Ohara gradually turn into ashes in the fire, even Lin Yan couldn't help but sigh with regret. As expected, this account still has to be recorded on the head of the world government. These people are really not good people. Silently making a note of world government in his mind, Lin Yan admired Ohara's destruction for a while, but had no intention of staying any longer. Return to the void and get on the train of time that has been waiting here. After the matter was settled, it was time for him to go back. Watching the time train slowly start to move, Lin Yan just sat in his seat leisurely, with an inexplicable look flashing in his eyes. Maybe this is fate. It was just a trip out of interest. Unexpectedly, I met Kuina, a disciple, and participated in the destruction of Ohara, which was extremely important in the history of this world. Even Lin Yan didn't know what to say. The train of time began to shuttle through the void, and the surrounding time and space became blurry again. Nothing happened. Lin Yan simply picked up the historical text that Dr. Clover gave him before, and then read it with interest. This ordinary document in your hand is related to the biggest secret in the entire world. Even Lin Yan is somewhat interested, but soon, Lin Yan became disappointed. Although the interpretation material of the historical text in my hand is genuine and accurate, it is nothing more than an introduction. About that so-called Great Kingdom, just some brief introduction. Nothing else. Lin Yan was speechless, and then threw the file in his hand into the Kamui space. It seems that the legend is correct. Only when one fully interprets the historical text can one know the truth of the blank 100 years. If you only have 1 or 2 copies, you will only find one ancient weapon at most. It seems that after returning, it takes some effort to look for the biggest secret in the world. But before that, we still have to find the grown-up Robin. Lin Yan silently narrowed his eyes and thought like this, and then let the train of time take him through the void. Lin Yan was not kept waiting for too long. About half an hour later, along with a strange fluctuation, the scene around the time train gradually began to become clearer. It seems that we have successfully reached our destination. Lin Yan yawned boredly, put away the train of time, and then observed the surrounding scene. It was the unknown island where I left. It's just that there is no one on the island now. It can be said to be a wilderness in a literal sense. There are only a few simple houses built by the swordsmen before. This is no wonder. After all, the battle between the world's greatest swordsmen has ended, and the place has also been attacked. Naturally, the building has already been deserted. But this is also convenient for Lin Yan. At least he doesn't have to use tricks to make other people forget the existence of the train of time. Anyway, let's go home first. After looking at the extremely desolate scenery around him, Lin Yan didn't hesitate much and immediately decided to go back to the Whitebeard pirates. He needed to know what had happened recently. As well as leading people to find Robin, no one is more suitable than Aokiji. Thinking of this, Lin Yan did not hesitate, cut down the trees, made a raft at will, and then set sail directly to the sea. A week or so flew by like this. As the saying goes, people with good skills are bold. With only a raft, Lin Yan managed to cross the Grand Line, which was a dangerous environment, and arrived at the territory of the Whitebeard pirates within a week. Captain Lin is back. What the hell, Captain Lin? Call His Majesty the Emperor. Ha 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 ha. The atmosphere of the Whitebeard pirates is as reassuring as ever. Seeing Lin Yan appear, everyone smiled kindly. Today, Lin Yan has long been an integral part of the Whitebeard pirates. Everyone worships Lin Yan as a hero. Even if it's temporarily not as popular as Whitebeard here, it's not far behind. As for these friends whom he had not seen for a long time, Lin Yan naturally smiled back, and then slapped Marco down with a backhand who wanted to sneak attack on him. How long have I been gone? Tisk. Lin, have you become stronger again? The sneak attack failed. Marco couldn't help showing a helpless expression on his face, but he still answered Lin Yan's question immediately. It's been about a month, right? I heard that you are now the world's greatest swordsman. I didn't expect that even Hawkeye was defeated. As he spoke, Marco's face couldn't help showing a proud expression. It was as if he was the one who became the greatest swordsman in the world. Lin Yan doesn't care about this. The false reputation of the world's greatest swordsman is not important to him at all. Now Lin Yan cares about another thing. Did anything big happen on the sea during this period? Lin Yan asked, staring at Marco, with an inexplicably serious look on his face. Huh. No. Marco looked at Lin Yan, who asked this question with some confusion, but he thought about it carefully and finally shook his head with certainty. During the time you left, our life was very stable. Nothing happened. By the way, Hancock and the others are also back. Do you want to go and meet them? Marco said to Lin Yan with a smile. Thanks to the existence of the man in front of him, the Whitebeard pirates have become more and more powerful in recent times. Now, not many people dare to provoke them in this sea. Thanks to this, the lives of these people are also quite moist. Every day he is either developing his own pirate group or on the road to developing his own pirate group. Captains like Marco are still very willing to see the Whitebeard pirate group grow. Especially after Lin Yan became the new world's greatest swordsman. This situation is even more obvious. Now walking on the sea, as long as you say the name of the Whitebeard pirates, no matter who it is, you must give some face. Hancock? They have returned from the Fishman Island? Lin Yan looked at Marco in surprise and asked. If not, Marco rolled his eyes speechlessly. He finally saw it. The man in front of him, who brought miracles to the Whitebeard pirates, was not only formidable in strength, but also extremely powerful in terms of luck. To be fair, they are not blind. How could you not see the affection that several girls have for Lin Yan? Well, forget it, I'll go find Aokiji and the others first. By the way, where is Ace? I remember I haven't seen that guy for a long time. Lin Yan thought for a while and finally shook his head. Although he also misses several girls very much, now he needs to confirm Robin's whereabouts with Aokiji as soon as possible. By the way, he also needs to ask about the whereabouts of Ace, whom he has not seen for a long time. No way. I've been really busy recently, and Lin Yan hasn't seen Ace for a long time. Ace. However, when Lin Yan asked this question, Marco immediately showed a helpless expression on his face, and his whole body became like that of an old woman. Ha. As you know, that guy is so stubborn that he can't be persuaded. Now, he's looking for Teach again. Marco sighed rather helplessly. In fact, including Whitebeard himself, when Ace went out to sea for the second time to find Blackbeard, all of them were against it. But that kid's temper is simply stinking and tough. I can't help it at all. I see, it's not a big deal. Hearing what Marco said, Lin Yan nodded in understanding. Ace goes to find trouble with Blackbeard. Although this matter is very dangerous, it is not a fatal situation. The current Blackbeard did not get Whitebeard's shock fruit in Summit War like in the original book, and became the 5th Emperor. Although powerful, he is just a Logia Esper. Ace is not a fool. After being tricked once by Blackbeard, there was no reason to fall down in the same place a second time, otherwise Lin Yan would really wonder if there was something wrong with Roger's genes. Looking at Lin Yan's nonchalant look, Marco sighed. I know what you are thinking, Lin, but it is true that it is worrying. Let's do this. If you see Ace later, tell him for us and come back as soon as possible. Dad is very worried about him. I got it. Of course, there was no reason to refuse. Lin Yan immediately nodded his head happily. After a period of time, Lin Yan continued to chat with Marco for a while, and then got up to look for Aokiji. If there is anyone in this world who knows clearly where Robin is, then there is no doubt that it is Aokiji. Ever since he let Robin go on Ohara, this man has been secretly protecting the girl. Same as Saul, who should also be lurking in the dark. He has been an unknown guardian hidden in the darkness until now. So the most efficient way is undoubtedly to ask directly. It didn't take much effort. After only 10 minutes, Lin Yan easily found Aokiji on the boat. This guy was playing chess with Zephyr with a lazy look on his face. The current Aokiji is no longer the Marine Admiral who was confused about justice. After joining the Whitebeard pirates, the lazy side of his character is also brought into full play. He is either fishing or fishing every day, as if he doesn't care about anything. But everyone aboard Moby Dick has great faith in Aokiji. Not just because he was the one brought in by Lin Yan. It's also because of the reliable side that Aokiji occasionally shows in his powerful pervert power. Oh. Lin, you are back. Zephyr, who was playing chess with Aokiji, was the first to notice Lin Yan coming over, and immediately had a hearty smile on his face. He is very satisfied with his current life. The atmosphere of the Whitebeard pirates was more heartwarming than the marine he had stayed with before, especially since everyone was a companion who gathered together because of a man, so there were no prejudices against each other. No, Aokiji was already on the verge of turning against him. At this time, the two of them can sit together and play chess calmly. You guys are really leisurely. Lin Yan looked at the two people in front of him helplessly. His experiences during this period were very rich and colorful, but in the end, my dear, these two people started to live in retirement. Ha 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 ha. Don't say that, even we have work every day. Zephyr laughed heartily again. Although Aokiji did not speak, his eyes were still locked on Lin Yan. Noticing Aokiji's searching eyes, Lin Yan stopped joking and his expression became serious. Kuzan, I have something to ask you, I see. Hearing what Lin Yan said, Aokiji couldn't help but frown. But he still stood up decisively. Zephyr didn't stop either. Not long after, the two came to a deserted corner. Faced with Aokiji's strange look in front of him, Lin Yan spoke directly. Kuzan, if it's you, you should know where Nico Robin is now, right? Aokiji fell silent for a moment. A trace of complexity flashed unconsciously in his eyes. He never expected that Lin Yan would actually ask him about Robin's whereabouts. As the only survivor of Ohara, Robin was the one who had committed the evil himself. Aokiji's rival girl naturally paid great attention to Robin. After thinking about it, Aokiji raised his head and looked at Lin Yan in front of him. Can I ask why you are interested in her? Aokiji just looked straight at Lin Yan in front of him. He neither refused immediately nor nodded in agreement. He was very concerned about why Lin Yan suddenly asked about Robin's whereabouts. Could it be that Robin was in trouble again somewhere he didn't know? Aokiji can only think so. After all, Robin has gotten into trouble a lot over the years. Whenever things get out of hand, Aokiji, a Marine Admiral, will always secretly deal with those forces that want to harm her for Robin. Since the Ohara incident that year, it has always been like this. For that girl, betrayal has long become the norm. Aokiji has nothing to do about this. He is just a person hiding in the dark, and as far as Aokiji himself is concerned, he also wants to see what kind of flowers the seeds that Saul guarded with his life will bloom in the end. Nothing. Seeing Aokiji's complicated look in front of him, Lin Yan suddenly smiled softly. It's just a matter of karma. Cause and effect. Listening to Lin Yan's answer, Aokiji murmured secretly, and finally nodded heavily. I understand. I will go find him with you, is that okay? Aokiji said to Lin Yan seriously. Certainly. Lin Yan naturally smiled and nodded. It would be best if Aokiji is willing to do this in person. I don't know if Robin will be shocked when the time comes. Lin Yan thought this in a rather wicked way. Naturally, there was nothing to say about what happened for a while. Regarding Robin, Lin Yan began to ask Aokiji in detail. After all, in the original work, the matter of Aokiji protecting Robin was only briefly mentioned. Speaking from Aokiji's mouth at this moment, it is obviously more detailed. Until then. Only then did Lin Yan realize how outrageous Robin's past life was. As said before, betrayal is as simple as eating and drinking to her. After listening, even Lin Yan couldn't help but feel a little headache and put his hand on his forehead. The cute and headless Robin from back then seems to have grown crookedly. But the conversation between the two people didn't last long. He was soon interrupted by several people who came uninvited. Dear, why didn't you tell us when you came back? Seeing Lin Yan chatting with Aokiji, Hancock's eyes suddenly flashed with joy, and he came forward without hesitation. He didn't care at all that the two men might be talking about serious business. Because I am so beautiful, so even if you do something wrong, you will definitely be forgiven. The Empress of Nine Snakes Island is quite a willful person. Upon seeing this, Aokiji immediately left with discernment. After all, the business with Lin Yan has almost been discussed. Even though Aokiji has not been in love so far, he at least knows that he should not be a light bulb at this time. And wait until Aokiji leaves. Naturally, Hancock took it upon himself to hang on to Lin Yan. Lin Yan said he was emotionally stable. Although I felt sorry for Aokiji, to be honest, Lin Yan was in a good mood to be treated so carelessly by Hancock. Who can say no to Hancock from Nine Snake Island? So naturally there is nothing to say about what happened in the next period of time. It was rare that Hancock came up to her, so Lin Yan naturally kept warm with the girl for a long time. It wasn't until Hancock couldn't stand it anymore that Lin Yan smiled softly and asked about business. Speaking of which, you guys are back from the Fishman Island. It's pretty stable there, right? Well, nothing happened. Hancock nodded slightly, then as if he remembered something quite unpleasant, he couldn't help but puff up his cheeks slightly. It's that mermaid princess who seems to miss you so much. Hancock looked at Lin Yan with some dissatisfaction and said. Of course, Lin Yan just laughed at this. Fortunately, Hancock didn't mean to get too entangled in this aspect. After a little dissatisfaction, he continued to tell Lin Yan about the follow-up to the Fishman Island incident. Of course, there was no intention of loosening his arms at all. After Lin Yan left the Fishman Island, the fishmen seemed to naturally attribute the ability to summon the Sea Kings to Lin Yan. After all, as the fifth emperor of the sea, Lin Yan now has a bad reputation, and there is nothing to care about if he has more powerful abilities. For this reason, Shirahoshi Poseidon's identity has not been revealed. In addition, due to the sudden death of Hody Jones, Vanderdecken was also imprisoned in a cell. With no one standing in the way, the reconstruction of the Fishman Island was incredibly smooth. The former vitality and prosperity were soon restored. Currently, Neptune is actively planning a plan for the fishmen to return to the sky. After seeing things stabilized, Hancock and his group said goodbye and returned to the Whitebeard pirates. As for the world government, so far no movement. I don't know if they are confirming Lin Yan's safety. That's it. As for the Fishman Island, I probably won't pay attention to it recently. After listening to Hancock's detailed account, Lin Yan nodded with great satisfaction. As long as he shows up in Dahaishan, people in the world government would never dare to act rashly. What's more, the current Whitebeard pirates are not easy to mess with. Those old guys should be able to carry it clearly. Okay, now that we've finished talking about the business, do you want to go shopping together? Smiling at Hancock in front of him, Lin Yan asked in a very happy mood. He's not a guy who doesn't understand amorous feelings. Hancock had no reason to refuse. When he heard Lin Yan say this, he immediately nodded his head without hesitation, then hugged his sweetheart's arm with a happy look on his face, and started walking around on the Moby Dick as if no one else was around. It really blinded a group of people's eyes. Even Marco and other division captains looked at him with resentment. We are still single. You can't do this to us. Of course, the two of them didn't care at all about their resentment. After being away for such a long time, Lin Yan also wanted to spend time with the girls around him. How could he care about an idle guy like Marco? And Hancock, who is very willful himself, certainly doesn't care anymore. So soon, several other girls who came after hearing the news joined in without hesitation. Whitebeard, who arrived at the end, was amused. Goo la 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 la, isn't this great? Whitebeard stood on the bow and laughed heartily. Originally, I heard that Lin Yan was coming back and he was planning to hold a banquet. After all, Lin Yan is now another soul of the Whitebeard pirates besides himself. Whitebeard naturally attaches great importance to his return. But look at the current situation. Well, just look at it. Although he is a hero on the sea, Whitebeard doesn't understand Feng Yu at all. You can tell just by looking at it, right? The people who are stuck together in front of them will probably be inseparable for a while. Not a big problem. Sit down, Dad. Look at them. Marco came forward with a resentful look on his face and couldn't help but complain to Whitebeard. There is no justice. Thinking about Marco, he is a well-known strong man in the sea, but he is still single so far, and he doesn't even know a few girls. Look at Lin Yan again. Is it really a matter of looks? I cannot accept. Marco roared in his heart, and soon, his resentment was slapped back by Whitebeard. Gu la 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 la. Don't be embarrassed here. If you want it, go find it yourself. Lousy doesn't care about this kind of thing. With that said, Whitebeard didn't care at all about Marco, who was eating a fly. Instead, he sat down and watched the scene in front of him with interest. It's good to be young, naturally. There is nothing to say about what happened after that. With the intention of accompanying him specially, Lin Yan stayed with the Whitebeard pirates for a while until Aokiji came to the door alone. I heard about it. Shall we set off now? Still concise and to the point as always, Aokiji said to Lin Yan very calmly. The so-called inquiry was heard. Of course it refers to Robin's whereabouts. Even though he has now resigned as Marine Admiral and has become a member of the Whitebeard pirates, Aokiji still has the ability to gather information. That's what a strong person is. Even if he just stood there, there would still be a large group of people rushing to join him. Huh. Let's do it now. Lin Yan looked at Aokiji in surprise. Unexpectedly, this guy moved very fast, and then nodded his head straightforwardly. Honey, are we coming too? Seeing the conversation between the two, Hancock next to Lin Yan rolled his eyes, and then immediately asked coquettishly. It's just a pity that she will be disappointed this time. Let's go with Aokiji this time. She's very wary. Lin Yan smiled at Hancock. Through Aokiji's previous narration, it is not difficult for Lin Yan to imagine how Robin has spent these years, and because of the changes in the previous Alabasta incident. Robin doesn't seem to have met his companions either. To this day, that girl still lives in darkness. It is natural to be wary of everyone. With Hancock's level of willfulness, if he followed her, something might happen. After all, the Empress never suffered any loss. Oh. Hearing what Lin Yan said, Hancock was extremely disappointed, but he still nodded obediently. Although she is arrogant and willful, but only Lin Yan would listen obediently. Ain and Momosagi on the other side saw Hancock being rejected, looked at each other, and stopped talking. So naturally there is nothing to say about what happened next. After a brief tidying up, Lin Yan traveled low-key with Aokiji and took a small boat to sail out to sea. Not long after, they left the territory of the Whitebeard pirates. We're going to find Robin now? Aokiji calmly steered the ship and turned to Lin Yan and asked. No, let's go to another place first. As long as we see that person, even Robin won't be wary. However, Lin Yan just smiled mysteriously at Aokiji. That person. Aokiji couldn't help but slowly typed a question mark. After all, in a sense, he has watched Robin grow up, and he naturally has an incomparable understanding of the girl's character. Is there anyone in this world who can make Robin let down his guard once he meets her? Doesn't exist. Logically speaking, if another person had said this to him, Aokiji would have scoffed at it and wondered if this person was drunk. After all, that's Robin, but if it were Lin Yan in front of me? Aokiji couldn't help but think seriously. Could it be that there was something hidden about that incident that year that I didn't know about? But even so, Aokiji didn't ask any questions. It was natural for the crew to trust their captain. So Aokiji did not hesitate, took the navigation chart handed over by Lin Yan, and took the helm to sail towards the marked place. As for who exactly he is, wouldn't you know it when you see it? A week flew by. As mentioned before, real sailing is completely different from what is described in poetry and is full of boredom. In view of this, Lin Yan just spent these days lazily on the boat. At the same time, the two of them reached their destination this time. This is an uninhabited island, or it was an uninhabited island about 20 years ago. Just like the countless small islands that are unknown in this sea, the people here also live in isolation. But they are not ordinary islanders, but a defender of shocking secrets. The silver-haired woman sat quietly on the rocks by the seaside, staring at the endless sea in front of her. It's been like this every day for 20 years. Why? Then, as usual, Nicole Albia sighed softly. Life is peaceful now. But the most important thing was missing. It has been almost 20 years since we made the promise when we left. It's not that Nicole Albia hasn't thought about going to sea to search. But let alone where she, a weak woman, could go to find this, even if it was just to avoid inconvenience to Ohara's scholars, she absolutely couldn't do this. The only people left on the island are lucky to be alive. How could she bear to put them to death again? If they hadn't lived anonymously on this uninhabited island, one by one, they would all have been killed long ago. Now that the man is gone, they have no ability to resist. Thinking of this, Nicole Albia couldn't help but sigh softly again. Then immediately, the woman's eyes were stunned. Boat? It was like seeing something extremely incredible. Looking at the boat slowly approaching here not far away, Nicole Albia couldn't help but widen her eyes slightly. This is a really strange thing. You must know that this is an uninhabited island. Even among the many uninhabited islands in the world, its geographical location can be said to be untouched. No, maybe it's a compliment if a bird doesn't poop. There is nothing we can do about this. After all, in order to completely hide Ohara's secret, the man made a careful selection and finally chose this place. Although it is very remote, it is the best place to live anonymously. It's so desolate that no pirates even want to visit. It is precisely because of this that they have been able to live quietly until now. No, I have to go back and tell everyone. Looking at the boat coming this way in the distance, Nicole Albia's eyes flashed with worry, and then she quickly made a decision. For some reason, she suddenly felt uneasy. It's just something that Nicole Albia doesn't know. This uneasiness is somewhat different from when Ohara was destroyed. But the woman herself doesn't realize it. Nicole Albia also had a very decisive character. After making up her mind, she rushed back in a hurry and pushed open the door of a certain room. Orbia. What are you doing? The old man who was doing research in the room raised his head in astonishment and looked at Nicole Albia in front of him. He had never seen the other person in such a panic since he came to live here. This old man, it was none other than Dr. Clover. I have to say that he is also a lucky enough person. Not only did he survive Ohara's death, but he is still alive today. This life is enough. Doctor, a ship is coming, I'm worried. Dr. Clover looked at him with a smile, but Nicole Albia didn't mean to joke, and immediately said hurriedly. When Dr. Clover heard this, he couldn't help but frown instantly. Ship. Orbia, please calm down first. It's probably not what we think. Forget it. Don't inform others yet. I'll go take a look with you. Dr. Clover said decisively. If Nicole Albia's worries are true, then there is no way to escape them no matter what. If not true, notifying everyone would serve no purpose other than to cause panic. In view of this, Dr. Clover immediately made a decision, took Nicole Albia with him and walked towards the beach with a serious expression. The two had just arrived, and Lin Yan and Aokiji happened to dock and got off the boat. 4 pairs of eyes looked at each other. The faces of Nicole Albia and Dr. Clover turned pale in an instant. Aokiji Admiral. Emperor of the Sea. Nicole Orbia couldn't help but trembled. Even though they now live on this uninhabited desert island, it doesn't mean that they don't know anything about the outside world. At least the famous Aokiji, as well as Lin Yan, who had a notorious reputation during this period, the two still knew each other. Wanted posters have been flying all over the sky for a long time, right? You two. What are you doing here? Ours is just a worthless uninhabited island. Dr. Clover said in a serious tone, trying to talk the two away. After all, on the surface, they were just a poor village with nothing worth plundering. But while saying this, Dr. Clover's heart couldn't help but sink. He probably knew it clearly. A big shot like this would not act randomly without any reason. When he comes here now, I'm afraid. Is it impossible to escape after all? Dr. Clover's heart felt cold. Nicole Orbia's eyes were even more filled with despair. Looking at the two people in front of him, Lin Yan burst into laughter and poked Aokiji next to him in a very naughty way. You scared people. It seems that the reputation of the former Marine Admiral has not diminished. Aokiji didn't speak, just rolled his eyes silently. Who is scarier, me or you? It doesn't count at all, right? But having said that, Aokiji did not immediately refute his captain, but looked at the two people in front of him and narrowed his eyes slightly. Even though he has now joined the Whitebeard pirates, he was once a Marine. Looking at the two of them, it was obvious that there was something wrong in their minds. Otherwise, how could ordinary people react this way when seeing Marine? Oh, I'm a pirate now. That's okay. Ahem, okay. You two, in short, we are not here to cause trouble, but to find someone. Lin Yan immediately clapped his hands when he saw that the atmosphere was somewhat silent, and that the faces of Nicole Albia and Dr. Clover were getting paler and paler, which would be bad if they scared the elderly. Find someone? Dr. Clover asked with some confusion. Well, look for her. Lin Yan smiled and nodded, and then, under the somewhat astonished gazes of several people, he suddenly pointed at Nicole Albia. When Lin Yan pointed it out, Nicole Albia herself looked confused and couldn't help but point at herself in disbelief. That's right. Lin Yan nodded with a smile, and then suddenly tapped the corner of his mouth in a playful manner. Woman, I'm attracted to you, come with me. Aokiji. Dr. Clover. Nicole Orbia. What a thief. He really didn't expect that his captain would do such an outrageous thing. Even Aokiji couldn't help but stay where he was, ice forming in his hands silently. Dr. Clover and Nicole Orbia's faces turned dark. Although as the 5th Emperor of the Sea, you are very powerful, but you don't want to bully others like this. Your Excellency, please go back. There is no one you are looking for here. Dr. Clover said with a dark face. Nicole Albia even glared at Lin Yan fiercely. Please respect yourself. Is this too funny? Seeing the extremely angry expressions of the two of them, Lin Yan smiled heartlessly and seemed to have no intention of introspecting at all. Then under Nicole Albia's extremely angry gaze, she suddenly stretched out her hand and threw something. Don't refuse in a hurry. Look at this. To put it bluntly, Nicole Albia actually wanted to take over this thing. Then he hit the face of the deceiver in front of him hard. You are so shameless and still laughing. However, the woman made no move after all, and just looked at Lin Yan throwing things with disdain. Something to coax a little girl? Flowers or rings? How could I be fooled so easily? Wait. Nicole Albia thought this with great dissatisfaction, and then when she saw clearly what it was, she suddenly froze on the spot. It was an object like a glass plate. Doesn't that mean? Albia. So under the astonished gazes of Dr. Clover and Aokiji, Nicole Orbia, who looked angry just now, was stunned for a moment. Then he rushed forward without hesitation and tightly caught what Lin Yan threw in his hands. After confirming it carefully, Nicole Albia suddenly raised her head, rushed directly in front of Lin Yan, and grabbed the other person's collar. You stupid soul. 20 years. Do you know how I got here? I don't care. You must compensate me today. Who I am? Where am I? What just happened? Aokiji and Dr. Clover were completely confused and had no idea what kind of medicine Nicole Albia was selling in the gourd. And what on earth was that thing you just took? Why did the woman become like this when I saw her, and she didn't seem to care about others at all? Aokiji and Dr. Clover slowly typed a row of question marks. Well. Anyway, there are many reasons. Calm down Albia first and I can explain. Seeing the emotional explosion in front of Nicole Albia, Lin Yan had a helpless smile on his face, then reached out and patted the woman's shoulder to comfort her. Nicole Albia took a deep breath and realized that her previous behavior was a bit out of line, and stepped aside with a blush. Well, it should be said that it's been a long time, Dr. Clover. Watching Nicole Albia step away, Lin Yan nodded his head imperceptibly, and then turned his attention to Dr. Clover on the other side. I didn't expect that the other party was still alive. This is really fate. You know me. Dr. Clover was also very puzzled at this time. When he heard what Lin Yan said, he immediately asked directly. Being able to directly call Nicole Albia by name proved that the man in front of him definitely knew them, but in Dr. Clover's impression. The Sea Emperor in front of me seems to have no connection with Ohara, right? Certainly. Lin Yan smiled and nodded. Don't forget that I brought you back from the Tree of Omniscientness back then. I don't know if Spangdine is dead. When Lin Yan said this, the expression on Dr. Clover's face froze instantly, and various emotions merged together, finally turning into ecstasy. You, are you? Yes, I should have thought of it earlier. You are the 5th Emperor. Dr. Clover was so excited that he couldn't help himself. Being able to tell the secrets of the past directly, and even saying Spangdine's name, there is no doubt that the Lin Yan in front of him is the man back then. Now the 5th Emperor on the sea. In fact, Lin Yan had told Dr. Clover about this before, but Dr. Clover always thought it was just Lin Yan's ideal, but he didn't expect it to actually come true here. After all, when Ohara was destroyed, there were only 4 emperors on the sea. Even if he is a prestigious scholar, I also didn't expect time travel at all. Let's go. Everyone in Ohara is waiting for you to come back. After realizing Lin Yan's true identity, Dr. Clover immediately lost all worries and showed an extremely cheerful smile on his face. With the arrival of this man, he knows. The time has come for Ohara to see the light of day again. As a scholar, being able to spread the knowledge you possess is the greatest happiness. He originally thought he would die on this desert island keeping secrets, but he didn't expect that God would finally give him a chance. Dr. Clover is so happy that he transforms. You have to explain to me. On the other side, Nicole Albia looked at Lin Yan with complicated eyes, and then spoke softly. She needs an explanation. About everything in the past 20 years, and the incident 20 years ago. I know. Lin Yan nodded slightly to her. So I'm here to fulfill my promise and keep you waiting, Albia. Hearing Lin Yan's gentle words, even someone as strong as Nicole Albia couldn't help but shed tears at this moment. She had been waiting for this moment for too long. Lin, who is this? This situation is really getting weirder and weirder. Now Aokiji is simply confused. After hesitating for a long time, he finally couldn't help but ask. It seems that everything has become strange since I went to sea with Lin Yan this time. First, Lin Yan suddenly asked about the whereabouts of Nico Robin. Then he took himself to this remote island. Like Nicole Orbia who couldn't hold back her tears, Aokiji also needed an answer. In this regard, Lin Yan had no intention of refusing. That's right. Let me introduce you. With that said, Lin Yan stretched out his hand to pull Nicole Albia to his side, and then pointed at Dr. Clover. This is Dr. Clover, and the one next to me is Nicole Albia. I wonder if you have any impression? Lin Yan looked at Aokiji with a smile and said. Dr. Clover. Nicole Orbia? Wait, you can't say it? Because it was too long ago. Aokiji first chewed on the names of these two people, and then seemed to realize something, and his expression suddenly changed. They are scholars of Ohara. But aren't all the scholars in Ohara dead except Nico Robin? As if he didn't believe it would be such an outrageous answer. Aokiji's eyes widened in a rare sight, looking at the smiling Lin Yan in front of him, but he couldn't say a word. However, facing Aokiji, whose expression became dull, Lin Yan just nodded with a smile, and then dropped another bombshell. Albia is Robin's mother. By the way, all the scholars in Ohara now live on this island. Your actions back then didn't kill anyone except Ohara herself. Aokiji is numb. It's really numb. I thought that after I abandoned my identity as a marine and became a pirate, nothing in this world would surprise me. After all, I have made such a difficult decision. What else is there to be surprised about? But now, Aokiji had to admit that he was still naive. All the scholars of Ohara are still alive. In other words, the knowledge of the historical text is still preserved. And who knows how much these people already know in the past 20 years. Aokiji can no longer imagine how the world government will react if they find out about this. You really dare. Although Rao already had a considerable understanding of his captain's character, Aokiji was still extremely shocked at this time. After all, just think about it and you'll know, right? Lin Yan's meaning is already obvious. These scholars in Ohara are the existences he protected back then. This kind of courage is simply convincing. It's really. I don't even know what to say, but Lin, since you brought me here, it means you were ready, right? After a long time, Aokiji managed to suppress the shock in his eyes, and then said to Lin Yan with a wry smile. No one knows better than he the impact Ohara's continued presence would have on the world. It was certainly a huge storm. And Lin Yan has brought himself here at this moment. Doesn't it mean that the man in front of him is ready to face the storm? However, Aokiji thought too much. Faced with his fiery eyes, Lin Yan just smiled indifferently. Don't think too much, I'm just here to fulfill the agreement. Lin Yan said to Aokiji. This time, the newly born Ohara brought Aokiji here. In addition to finding Robin and needing his help, he also came here just to fulfill his agreement with Nicole Orbia. As for the awareness of facing world government and the coming storm? That kind of thing. Wasn't it already there when I killed the first celestial dragons? Promise? Aokiji was a little confused. In response, Lin Yan just smiled. Just helping a mother find her daughter. I see, I will help. Hearing Lin Yan's answer, Aokiji couldn't help but froze in place for a long time. After reacting, he couldn't help but smile and nodded. Of course, what do you think I brought you here to do? Lin Yan rolled his eyes. Then he took the three of them and walked towards the new Ohara. Although for him, it was only a few weeks, but for these scholars living here, 20 years have passed since the destruction of their hometown. Lin Yan is also very curious about what kind of existence Ohara follows today. Speaking of which, do you still study historical texts? While walking on the way to Ohara, Lin Yan suddenly turned his head and asked Nicole Albia beside him. And in response, there was only a blank look from the woman. Without you here, how could we have the courage? Besides, there is no stone tablet. Now we are just doing some basic research. Nicole Albia said helplessly. The destruction of Ohara has sounded the alarm in the hearts of every scholar. So in the past 20 years, no one of them has touched anything related to the historical text, because everyone understands that Ohara no longer has the power to protect himself. Maybe not in the first place. The complete destruction of my hometown is a bloody lesson. The so-called human beings. You can only grow through pain and cost. That's it. It's a pity, but it's thanks to this that you can survive until now. Lin Yan nodded clearly. As the saying goes, it is a crime for a common man to carry a jade without guilt. For Ohara scholars who have no ability to protect themselves, possessing knowledge about the truth about the world is their sin. It's just because of weakness. It can be manipulated by anyone. Seeing Lin Yan's somewhat satisfied expression, Nicole Albia couldn't help but roll her eyes at him. After all, I still have an agreement with someone, and Robin hasn't come back yet. Nicole Albia said angrily to Lin Yan. It was incredible, as if as soon as the man in front of her came back, she found a sense of security that she had not seen for a long time, and with it, she no longer worried about Robin's safety. After all, if it is Lin Yan, it's pretty easy to solve Robin's dilemma, right? Nicole Albia couldn't help but think so secretly. While she was thinking, a group of 3 people finally entered Ohara. Still the same. The streets were filled with scholars coming and going, which was exactly the same scene Lin Yan saw 20 years ago. These scholars never gave up on the search for knowledge. It's just a little different. There is no tree of omniscience here. There are no various precious documents and heritage. Moreover, in order to survive self-sufficiently, many scholars have appeared working on the land. Everything seems to be quite a magical reality. Lin Yan said he was emotionally stable. You want something to eat. The 3 of them didn't hang around here for long. Dr. Clover was eager to tell everyone the good news. Nicole Albia was concerned about her daughter's safety, and Aokiji looked at everything around him in disbelief. Chunan's eyes couldn't help but show a trace of fluctuation. World government back then. Did you really kill no one? So does it mean that you are guilty of your own sin? For a moment, Aokiji was stunned. In just a moment, the 3 of them ended their brief wandering and gathered in Dr. Clover's office. Lin Yan. How is Robin now? It seemed that she was still not used to calling Lin Yan's name. Nicole Albia's tone paused very subtly, but she still asked anxiously. I have been living on this desert island all this time. Although not completely ignorant of the outside world. But for an unknown person like Robin, it was difficult for Nicole Albia to get any news, so she was naturally very worried. If it weren't for her unwillingness to implicate her companions who managed to survive, Nicole Orbia would have gone out to sea to look for her. When he heard the woman's question, Lin Yan raised his hand, gave her a calm look, and then looked directly at Aokiji on the other side, who had a complicated expression. Kuzan, tell me. I see. Aokiji didn't refuse, but his tone was inexplicably silent. The man looked at Nicole Albia in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. Your Robin has caused me a lot of trouble. It seemed that she didn't expect that Aokiji would suddenly say such a sentence. Nicole Orbia couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. After reacting, she smiled sheepishly. But I felt relieved inside, since the Marine Admiral in front of me has said so. That means Robin is at least not in danger. Nicole Albia finally breathed a sigh of relief. So. How is she now? How should I put it? Life is not very good. This will start when Ohara is destroyed. Aokiji sighed. There was no intention of hiding it. He directly told Nicole Albia about Robin's experiences over the years. Even though he was a secret protector, he didn't know the details, but it was generally clear. Nicole Albia's face was full of sadness. Especially after hearing that Robin was in danger several times and almost lost his life, I couldn't help crying. Until Aokiji finished explaining, Nicole Orbia couldn't recover for a long time. After a while, under Aokiji's somewhat surprised look, Nicole Orbia nodded to him. Thank you so much. No, Aokiji immediately shook his head. He didn't dare to accept Nicole Orbia's thanks just like that. After all, I have no reason to be thanked by you. After all, first was the Marine Vice Admiral when Buster Call was dispatched. Aokiji said this somewhat silently. There is no need to explain what happens next. He is also one of the executors of Ohara's destruction. Even though Nico Robin has been spared, and it is now known that the scholars of Ohara are still alive, this does not mean that the past can be written off. Aokiji knows this very well, so Nicole Albia also fell silent. This is probably an unanswerable question. So soon, the smart woman stopped talking about this topic and turned her attention to Lin Yan. Then the reason why you came to me now is to take me back to find Robin, right? Nicole Albia asked with some anticipation. Although she seemed to have tried to keep her tone as calm as possible, the longing and joy in her tone could not be concealed at all. This is also a matter of course. God knows how long she had been waiting for this day. When leaving, Lin Yan said that if he didn't do this, Robin might not be safe, so Nicole Albia forced herself to miss her and abide by the agreement. But it's no longer necessary, right? And that's exactly what happened. Facing Nicole Albia's extremely expectant eyes, Lin Yan smiled and nodded. Yes, that's why we are here. After all, you have heard that Robin is very wary of anyone now. Even if I reveal my identity, she probably won't believe it. Lin Yan said helplessly. Then he looked straight at Nicole Albia in front of him. But if you come forward, Robin will definitely believe it. I know, I'll go with you. For Nicole Albia, this was probably a question that did not need to be considered at all, so the woman nodded immediately without even the slightest hesitation. It doesn't matter if he will be resented by his daughter after meeting her. Nicole Albia is already ready for this realization. That's good, then. Seeing Nicole Albia's determined eyes, Lin Yan nodded with satisfaction and was about to continue saying something. Then the next second, the door was pushed open. Dr. Clover looked cheerful. A large group of scholars were already standing outside the door. Seeing that the three people in the room looked over, Dr. Clover smiled sheepishly. Ah. Is this disturbing your conversation? I can't stop you. Dr. Clover smiled bitterly. As an old guy, he still underestimated the extent of these scholars' admiration for Lin Yan. As soon as they heard that the adult was back, everyone abandoned their work without hesitation and ran here. There's no way to stop it. That lord is the 5th emperor. That's it. No wonder he can save us. Reasonable. Thank you so much, otherwise we should all be dead. Master Lin Yan, I want to give birth to a monkey for you. The scholars looked at Lin Yan enthusiastically, their eyes full of admiration. This is also a matter of course. Lin Yan is like a benefactor to Ohara. This is something that everyone understands from the bottom of their hearts. The enthusiasm at this time is also justified. Is there just something weird mixed in? Forget it. It doesn't matter. Looking at the large group of scholars in front of him, Lin Yan stood up helplessly, and finally managed to calm down these enthusiastic fans. However, when I looked back, I saw that Aokiji and Nicole Orbia had already left. It seems that they are going to exchange information about Robin. Lin Yan also expressed understanding. After all, Nicole Orbia hasn't seen Robin for a long time, so it's completely understandable to be anxious. As for Aokiji, that guy was simply trying to atone for his sins. Thinking about it, Lin Yan had no intention of disturbing them, and just went back to rest on his own. Then the time soon came to evening. When nothing happened, Lin Yan walked out of Dr. Clover's room, but as soon as he looked up, he saw Nicole Orbia sitting on the rocks by the sea in a daze. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Yan walked forward slowly, and then sat down next to Nicole Orbia as before. What are you thinking about? Isn't this a matter of course? Nicole Orbia sighed softly. I heard Kuzan say that Robin has had a hard time these years, harder than I imagined. Do you think she would hate me if she saw me again? Nicole Orbia said this sadly. After all, she's already pushed Robin away twice. Once he was pulled back by Lin Yan. The other time lasted until now. Although it is a helpless move, but Nicole Orbia was still full of guilt and loss. However, looking at Nicole Orbia like this, Lin Yan laughed softly, and then patted the woman's shoulder comfortingly. Don't worry, after knowing the truth, Robin will understand you. After all, you are her favorite person. Lin Yan very rarely comforted Nicole Orbia in front of him. Talk about Robin's current situation. Although it's not good, it's not too bad either. Maybe Aokiji has been feeling guilty about the Ohara incident that year. During the time when Aokiji was Marine Admiral, Robin's bounty amount was always suppressed by him. During this period, Robin caused a lot of trouble. It was all solved by Aokiji secretly. Although Robin is still living a hidden life, he has not completely entered the sight of the world government. After retrieving Robin with Nicole Orbia, the dusty past of Ohara finally came to an end. It would be great if it goes so smoothly. However, even after listening to Lin Yan's comfort, Nicole Orbia's eyes were still full of worry. It seems that she is still not confident that Robin can forgive herself. Lin Yan didn't say much more about this. Anyway, not before meeting Robin. Nicole Orbia's worries will never go away. It would be better to set sail and go to sea as soon as possible to get down to business. So the next thing became very simple. Nicole Orbia only made the minimum preparations and boarded the boat with Lin Yan and Aokiji the next day. Dr. Clover led everyone to see him off. I'll leave it to you to take care of Robin. Dr. Clover sighed to Lin Yan. As a scholar of the older generation, he naturally likes outstanding juniors like Robin. It's just that the incident of Ohara's destruction was too involved. Looking at Nicole Orbia looking at each other across the sea every day, he was helpless. But now there is hope of saving everything. Ohara is still alive, and Robin also has the opportunity to return to his hometown. Everything is brought about by the man in front of him. Regardless of the reason, Dr. Clover is full of gratitude to Lin Yan. Don't worry, we will bring Robin back. For these Ohara scholars in front of him, Lin Yan just showed a confident smile on his face. Captain, it's time for us to set off. Aokiji on the other side confirmed the heading, then turned to Lin Yan and said. Everyone stopped talking and watched silently as the boat with the three people traveled further and further away. Many Ohara scholars silently blessed him in their hearts. The rest of the voyage went smoothly. It only took about 15 days for everyone to arrive at the Sabody Archipelago, which the Grand Line must pass through. According to the information obtained by Aokiji, Robin is currently in the Seven Waters capital and only needs to replenish supplies at the Sabody Archipelago. He will arrive in a few days. Because I will see my daughter again soon. Nicole Orbia has been acting very restless these days. Lin Yan and Aokiji also expressed their understanding of this, so they did not call Nicole Orbia when replenishing supplies. They just asked the woman to stay on the boat, and then the two of them split up. Dry food. Aokiji went to prepare the things needed for the voyage, but Lin Yan, who knew nothing about it, came to buy food very leisurely. It's a good meal. Fortunately, Sabody Archipelago is very rich in materials, and the purchasing process was very smooth. But when he was going back, Lin Yan was stopped. That's right. Was stopped. To be honest, this is really a long time to live. After all, he is now the 5th emperor of the sea. It can be said that Lin Yan has a notorious reputation in the literal sense. Even the world government does not dare to provoke him. In addition, Lin Yan has no idea of hiding his appearance. I simply couldn't avoid the crowds of people walking along the way, but I didn't expect to be stopped in such a small alley. So is it a robbery of wealth or a robbery? Ahem. Lin Yan looked at the mysterious man who blocked him with interest. She looked like a girl, but she wore a mask on her face. She looked to be in her 20s, and she had a long knife on her waist. Who are you? Seeing that the girl opposite had no intention of speaking, Lin Yan couldn't help but ask with interest. Are you the world's greatest swordsman now? However, the girl didn't answer the question. She just looked straight at Lin Yan, her eyes under the mask full of fighting intent. Got it. I'm here to have fun. Lin Yan immediately shook his head helplessly. The so-called swordsmen are usually such creatures. They don't care about the strength gap between two people. As soon as they see that the other person is a powerful swordsman, they will immediately come to compete. The girl in front of me looks like this. Sensing the other party's purpose, Lin Yan suddenly lost interest and shook his head with a dull expression. I'm different from that guy Hawkeye. I don't accept the challenge from others. Please come back. Lin Yan said this. To be honest, he is not a swordsman like Hawkeye. He will make gestures no matter who he meets. Lin Yan is not very interested in bullying the weak. This is considered a clear rejection. However, the girl opposite clearly didn't intend to give up. If that's the case, then I have to do it myself. Under Lin Yan's helpless gaze, the girl slowly pulled out the long knife from her waist, and then slashed it without saying a word. Are all swordsmen today so outrageous? Lin Yan was speechless. Immediately, he had no intention of summoning the holy sword. He just slowly stretched out 2 fingers and easily clamped the blade that the girl had chopped at him. The movements are very relaxed and freehand. Let me tell you, it's not that I can't understand your dream of becoming the world's greatest swordsman. How about we discuss it and I give you this title? Lin Yan said to the girl in front of him with a smile. Lin Yan, like Hawkeye, never cared much about the title of the world's greatest swordsman. Instead, he was annoyed by the swordsman who came to challenge him. It would be best if we could let him out here. Don't look at Lin Yan's movements before, which were very easy. But there is one thing to say, the girl in front of me is quite strong, at least she can fight that guy Hawkeye back and forth, so it is not a problem to give the title to her. Unfortunately, these words obviously angered the girl. It's a duel now. Don't tell me such nonsense. The girl gritted her teeth. She had already made an agreement with someone to achieve her dream of becoming the world's greatest swordsman. How could she accept any concession here? This man is clearly looking down on himself. Thinking of this, the girl became even more furious. Then you try my trick. Whoosh, then with a scream, the sword in the girl's hand suddenly disappeared, and at the same moment, Lin Yan's eyes suddenly condensed. This is good guy. I'm a good guy. When he saw the sword in the girl's hand suddenly disappearing, even Lin Yan couldn't help but widen his eyes in surprise. Of course, it doesn't mean that the girl's swordsmanship is so good. Possessing the bug of infinite martial arts and arriving in the divine realm as a human being, there are no fighting skills in this world that Lin Yan cannot see through. But the problem is, he is so familiar with this stuff. This kind of technology that instantly bursts out with powerful power, isn't that? Swish. Lin Yan made a prompt decision, suddenly raised his wrist, and then clamped the blade of the sword again under the girl's astonished gaze. Immediately, a helpless smile appeared on his face. You actually use what I taught you to deal with me. This is really cheating your master and destroying your ancestors. Are there really such coincidences in the world? Kuina, you have made great progress now. Lin Yan laughed speechlessly. Yes, the girl in front of you is definitely Kuina. That unique fighting style and the technique of increasing strength through bursts are all things Lin Yan once gave to Kuina. If you can't recognize it anymore, it's really hopeless. However, Kuina was stunned. Logically speaking, she was just traveling, hoping to make her sword skills more powerful, and coming to Sabody Archipelago at this time was just an accident. As a result, I saw Lin Yan, the new world's greatest swordsman, here. As a swordsman, Kuina certainly did not hesitate to rush forward to challenge. In order to fulfill that agreement, she herself also wanted to see how far she was from the world's greatest swordsman. The result was unexpected. Old teacher? Looking at the friendly smiling man in front of her, Kuina's heart couldn't help but beat crazily. But the girl didn't lose her mind yet, and she quickly gritted her teeth and calmed down. How are you going to prove it? Kuina looked directly at Lin Yan and asked. You must know that when her teacher left, which was almost the same age as Lin Yan now, Kuina would naturally feel suspicious. Moreover, the man in front of her has become famous only in recent years. Kuina, who has been traveling since going to sea, naturally knows this well. I remember I left you a crystal when I left? Then Lin Yan said to Kuina with a smile. Facing the girl's suddenly trembling eyes, Lin Yan smiled again and shook his head. Of course this is not enough proof, so, Kuina, look at this. Said. Lin Yan's momentum suddenly exploded. Boom. If Lin Yan stood there before and looked like an ordinary person, then now, he looks like a legendary ghost and god, making people tremble just by looking at him. The way of Shura. Exactly what he taught Kuina. Through explosive potential, incredible strength is obtained at the expense of huge physical energy consumption, which is a very dangerous and violent fighting technique. This momentum is something Kuina is all too familiar with. It's really a teacher. After seeing this scene, Kuina finally had no doubts anymore, took off the mask in front of her without hesitation, and rushed towards Lin Yan. After taking off the mask, Kuina's pretty face is revealed. Over the years, she has become a big girl. Both her appearance and strength have grown greatly, but her behavior is still the same as when she first got along with Lin Yan. Both. She had been looking forward to this scene for too long. Since Lin Yan left, Kuina has been training desperately in swordsmanship, and as a talented girl, her progress rate is of course very impressive. Finally, a few years ago, Kuina received Koshiro's recognition and permission, stepped on a boat and began to go out to sea to experience and challenge the most powerful swordsman in the world. But it's different from the later Zoro. Kuina did not choose to join any force. Instead, like many swordsmen, she relied on her strong personal strength to practice everywhere and constantly make herself stronger. The girl who has grown up now has already embarked on the road to pursue her dreams. And because of Kuina's extremely high talent, she has gained quite a reputation on her own in the past few years. Of course, there is still a big gap compared to Lin Yan. Teacher. Where have you been all these years? Why are you still the same as before, as if you appeared out of thin air? Just like before, Kuina rubbed herself in Lin Yan's arms without any scruples for a while, then Kuina raised her head curiously and asked. The teacher in front of me was still as mysterious as ever. Kuina would never have thought of it. The fifth emperor who has become famous on the sea in recent years, the Soul of the Whitebeard pirates, is actually the teacher he has been looking for a long time. This surprise is a bit too much, and just like that time when he suddenly appeared in his home dojo, he suddenly appeared and climbed to the top. Kuina was really curious about where Lin Yan had been after disappearing all these years. Why can't I find it no matter what? And this is a question that is destined to be unanswerable. Didn't it just appear suddenly? Kuina, how is Koshiro doing now? Without answering Kuina's various questions, Lin Yan changed the topic and asked about Koshiro's current situation. Well, everything is fine with my father. I also write letters home from time to time, it's still the same. Although she was very dissatisfied with Lin Yan's behavior of changing the topic, Kuina still answered honestly. Even in this day and age, the sea is extremely turbulent. But after all, there are still many people in this world who live a peaceful life. Besides, a small town has a swordsman like Koshiro in charge. It is also difficult to have any problems in itself. Realizing that Lin Yan didn't seem to want to discuss this, Kuina obediently talked about the situation in her hometown and stopped dwelling on what happened after Lin Yan disappeared. For her, it is happy enough to be able to reunite with the teacher I have been looking for a long time here. Kuina doesn't want to think too much about other things. But soon, Kuina, who was a little excited because of her reunion with Lin Yan, calmed down and couldn't help but frown slightly. Teacher. Since you are now the world's greatest swordsman, what about our agreement? Lin Yan paused. There is a saying, and it is true. After all, if I remember correctly, when he and Kuina separated, they made a pact. When Kuina becomes the world's greatest swordsman, he will return to her side. Lin Yan at that time, he did not reject the girl's heartful promise. But now, do I kill myself? You must know that after the battle with Hawkeye, the title of the world's greatest swordsman has been placed on his head. In other words, if Kuina still wants to continue pursuing her dream, then Lin Yan is the opponent she must face. To deceive the master and destroy the ancestor? Or is it Jockey Mezu? This is a very serious question. It was Kuina. After realizing this, the expression on her pretty face became somewhat weird. What should I do if my mentor becomes my enemy? Waiting online, quite urgent. Lin Yan couldn't help but scratch his head. Not to mention how Kuina's dream should continue, it is impossible for the girl in front of her to beat him. That's right, it's impossible in this life. Lin Yan possesses the bug ability of infinite martial arts. He is literally proficient in everything, and all of them have reached the level of the gods. It's not just swordsmanship. Even for a genius like Kuina, it would take an unknown amount of time to reach Lin Yan's current level in just one item, let alone all of them. That is simply impossible. How about playing concession? Lin Yan couldn't help but think secretly, teacher. However, Kuina obviously saw Lin Yan's thoughts and immediately puffed up her cheeks angrily. According to our agreement, no mercy is allowed. Kuina looked at Lin Yan extremely dissatisfied. It was her dream to become the world's greatest swordsman. How could she let Lin Yan show mercy? The title of the world's greatest swordsman means the strongest swordsman in the world. But you can't beat me. Lin Yan was very calm, spreading his hands to Kuina and said, I will work hard. In response to this, the girl's response was quite straightforward. Even if she couldn't beat him now, there would always be a chance in the future, right? At this moment, Kuina did not realize the seriousness of the problem at all. And Lin Yan is ahead of the current version of Bendo Youth. In this regard, Lin Yan expressed that his mood is stable. Anyway, just be happy. Kuina, what are you going to do next? No matter what, it was a happy thing to see Kuina again. Lin Yan soon stopped worrying about it and asked Kuina with a smile. Of course I'm going with you, teacher. Faced with this question, the girl first tilted her head in confusion, and then answered without hesitation. Anyway, I just came here by chance during my training. I don't have anything special to do, so I naturally followed you, teacher. It can be said to be a very reasonable reason. Lin Yan thought about it and found that there seemed to be no reason to refuse. In view of this, he nodded readily. I understand, let's come together. Next we are going to the capital of Seven Waters to do some errands. By the way, I have 2 companions here that I want to introduce to you. Kuina agreed without hesitation. But where Lin Yan didn't see it, the girl gestured happily, and she couldn't help but reveal a sly smile on her pretty face. The plan goes through, it is impossible to leave. It is impossible to leave in this life. It was not easy for her to reunite with her important person. Kuina was so smart that she left Lin Yan at this time. You must know that her father specifically told her when she went to sea. I don't know if I thought of something interesting. Kuina's pretty face Jonan couldn't help flashing a slight blush. Of course Lin Yan didn't know all this. So after taking stock of the purchased supplies and purchasing enough to feed several people for a month, Lin Yan took Kuina back to the boat. Lin, are things going well? As expected, Aokiji had been waiting here early, and when he saw Lin Yan appeared, he immediately asked. Who is this? But after seeing Kuina behind Lin Yan, it was Aokiji, and the expression on his face became strange. To be honest, how long has it been? Why was there another woman after I went out? And it's still very beautiful. No wonder Aokiji thinks this way. Today, Kuina is no longer the youthful self she once was. As the saying goes, the girl next door is growing up, and she looks different every day. As a powerful swordsman, Kuina still has an awe-inspiring temperament. To be evaluated by Lin Yan as a swordsman who has gone back and forth with Hawkeye, one can imagine how much Kuina has grown over the years. As we all know, for girls, temperament may be more important than simple appearance. Aokiji scratched his head. Even he was only convinced of his captain's luck. Marco saw that it was time to cry like a ghost again. Aokiji couldn't help but think this silently. Lin Yan, on the other hand, didn't react much. Looking at Aokiji's strange expression, he immediately introduced Kuina. This is a student I accepted before. I didn't expect to meet her here. Then she started working with us. Even though she looks like this, she is very strong. Lin Yan introduced with a smile. This is really rare. Hearing this, Aokiji couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He knew that Lin Yan's vision was very high, and there were not many people in the world who could be worthy of his strong comments. Thinking of this, Aokiji couldn't help but look at Kuina carefully. When he saw the long knife and mask on the girl's waist, Aokiji seemed to remember something. Are you a sword demon? Aokiji looked at Kuina in surprise and asked. Sword demon. Lin Yan tilted his head. Legend has it that she is a very powerful swordsman. She has been challenging other swordsmen all these years. That mask and long sword are her symbols. This is the first time I have seen her. What? Lin, you didn't heard about it. Aokiji explained briefly, and then looked at Lin Yan with increasingly strange eyes. Your student. Don't you know? Ignoring Aokiji's eyes very beautifully, Lin Yan smiled and touched his chin when he heard Kuina's title. Sword Demon. Okay, it sounds very violent. Kuina, you actually have such a title? Teacher. Kuina was so ashamed and angry that she was dying of shame. It was extremely rare to roar at Lin Yan. It seems that this nickname of Sword Demon made her very dissatisfied. This is also a matter of course. You must know that no matter what, Kuina is still a girl after all, and it is really hurtful to be called such a nickname. But it's still reasonable. The way of Shura inherited from Lin Yan allows Kuina to behave extremely violently in battle. With his fierce momentum and terrifying speed, Kuina is well deserved for the name of Sword Demon. But even so, you must find an opportunity to tear off the idiot who gave you this nickname. Kuina thought secretly. At the same time, he glared at Lin Yan with shame and anger, putting on a terrifying expression that if he mentioned this matter again, he would blame her for bullying his master and destroying his ancestors. Okay, let's not mention this for now. Where is Albia? Lin Yan expressed helplessness about this, but he didn't continue to tease Kuina, who was in shame and anger. Instead, he turned to Aokiji and asked. Still in the cabin. Aokiji scratched his head, becoming less and less understanding of the relationship between the two masters and apprentices, that in line with the principle of asking fewer questions and causing less trouble, he decisively ignored the topic. I'm here. What happened to you? It happened that Nicole Albia also walked out at this time. It seems that he heard the movement outside, and couldn't help but show a puzzled expression to the three people. The two girls' eyes met. Who is this? Looking at Kuina standing next to Lin Yan, Nicole Albia slowly raised a question mark, but there was no hostility at all. The girl is similar in age to the current Robin, not to mention still being with Lin Yan. Nicole Albia is naturally full of goodwill. Teacher? However, Kuina's attitude is a bit strange. Watching Nicole Albia get off the boat that should be Lin Yan's, Kuina paused, then turned her head directly and asked Lin Yan. This is Nicole Albia, your teacher and my old friend. Next, she will go to the Seven Waters capital with us. Lin Yan stretched out his hand, knocked Kuina, who was a little rude, gently but not hard, and then introduced. Old friend. Not minding Lin Yan's action of knocking her head at all, Kuina breathed a sigh of relief and immediately showed a friendly smile to Nicole Albia. Hello Aunt Albia. I'm Kuina, Nicole Orbia. Lin Yan. Good boy. The thunderstep is quite accurate. As we all know, age is a taboo for women, especially when called aunt. The smile on Nicole Orbia's pretty face suddenly became forced. Although Kuina is Robin's peer, it is indeed right to call her that way. But so angry. I can't keep my smile at all. Lin Yan also couldn't help but look away with a look on his face. He could understand Nicole Albia's mood, and as far as he was concerned, she was still beautiful. It would be better not to continue to make mistakes at this time. I don't know if Kuina did it on purpose, and as for Aokiji. He had already secretly stepped aside. I just flashed out of the battlefield. Didn't expect it. From the moment Kuina smiled brightly, Aokiji knew something was wrong. The two women obviously had a close relationship with their captain, which Aokiji could still see. So in order to avoid harming the fish in the pond, Aokiji wisely chose not to hear anything. At this time, he was studying the rudder of the ship seriously, as if there were some treasures worth digging on it. Nicole Albia and Kuina look at each other, literally smiling but not smiling. Finally, Lin Yan clapped his hands, breaking the extremely silent atmosphere. Okay, stop making trouble. The supplies have been replenished. It's time for us to set off. Lin Yan said to the two of them angrily. Huh. I know, please Lin. Nicole Albia took a deep breath, smiled at Lin Yan, and walked back to the cabin first in a mood not to be as knowledgeable as Kuina. Oh, Kuina showed a successful smile and raised her feet to get on the boat. Then he was grabbed by Lin Yan and pulled back by his collar. This guy really did it on purpose. Teacher? What's wrong? When Lin Yan grabbed her fateful neck flesh, Kuina knew something was wrong and immediately showed a cute expression on her pretty face and asked Lin Yan. Are you embarrassed to ask me? Lin Yan narrowed his eyes and looked at her. But seeing the expression on Kuina's face that she was going to be cute and get away with it, Lin Yan just smiled in the end. You are already a big girl. Why are you still the same as before? Albia is a person with stories. You will know about it later, and don't forget to apologize afterwards. Well, I got it. Seeing Lin Yan's serious expression, Kuina nodded obediently. But I became even more curious inside. What happened to Lin Yan during the years when he disappeared? Why did you meet Nicole Albia? Also said that the other party is a person with a story? Kuina was extremely curious. But now was obviously not a good time to ask. With this thought, Kuina followed Lin Yan onto the cabin. What follows naturally is a long and boring voyage. Because she had promised Lin Yan to come and apologize, Kuina soon appeared in front of Nicole Albia's room. After hesitating, she reached out and knocked on the door. Who? It's me, Kuina. Come in. Kuina breathed a sigh of relief when he was not embarrassed. In fact, he did not have such a personality and did not like to embarrass others. It was just a subconscious reaction when he saw an unknown woman suddenly appearing next to Lin Yan. Already reflecting on it. After receiving permission, Kuina pushed the door open and saw Nicole Albia sitting by the window. A trace of embarrassment flashed across Johnen's pretty face. Well, what happened before was my fault, I'm sorry. Kuina apologized honestly. It doesn't matter, compared to you, I am indeed an ant. Nicole Albia smiled and did not mean to embarrass Kuina. Nicole Albia could more or less guess what she was thinking before. Looking at Kuina in front of her, Nicole Albia sighed. If that hadn't happened, her Robin would be so lively now, right? Thinking about it, Nicole Albia spoke again. Did you come here just to talk about this? Well, it's Master's request. Kuina nodded, then paused for a moment. Sister Albia, how did you and the teacher meet? Kuina asked Nicole Orbia curiously about this question. She really cared about it. After all, even though the two have reunited now, the impression Lin Yan left on Kuina is still extremely mysterious. Of course, Kuina will be extremely concerned about the existence of Nicole Albia. Next to my mysterious teacher, how could there be a woman? This. However, after hearing Kuina's question, Nicole Albia showed an extremely soft smile on her face. Lin, he is my benefactor. Nicole Albia answered with absolute certainty. If he hadn't met Lin Yan at that time, Ohara would have been completely destroyed by now, and he would probably be separated from Robin by life and death, right? To say he is a benefactor is an understatement. Kuina, however, seemed to understand. If she was just a simple benefactor, would she really have the expression that Nicole Albia has now? Kuina felt something was wrong, but it's completely impossible to say. But before Kuina could figure out the reason, Nicole Albia asked her with a smile. What about you? When did you meet Lin? When I was little, he was my teacher. Kuina replied without thinking. Even though several years have passed, Kuina still has fresh memories of the days when she practiced kendo with Lin Yan. That person is the one who gave himself salvation. Without Lin Yan's existence, I would probably be dead now, let alone relying on my own abilities to become famous on the sea. Kuina's feelings for Lin Yan are special, if I have to say there is any dissatisfaction. It's just that Lin Yan has now become the world's greatest swordsman. I see, it seems we are all the same. Just looking at the expression on Kuina's face now, Nicole Albia understood everything. The girl in front of her must have suffered the same favor from Lin Yan as herself. I really don't know what to get. Nicole Albia sighed softly. They probably found common ground in Kuina. After a while, Nicole Albia also rarely opened up the chat box and started chatting with Kuina. And the other side. Lin Yan and Aokiji stood on the bow of the boat, looking at the calm sea in the distance. Both men were surprisingly silent. It wasn't until a long while later that a rare hint of teasing flashed across Aokiji's face, and he turned his head and asked Lin Yan. Lin, what are you going to do next? Hearing this, Lin Yan hung up the dead fish eyes. What you mean? Of course Orbia and Kuina. Aokiji also made a rare joke. Although he was not as envious, jealous, and howling as Marco, he was quite happy to see the situation like this. As we all know, 8 trigrams is human nature. Even a strong person like Aokiji is not immune to this. In fact, the members of the Whitebeard pirates have complained about this matter more or less. According to people familiar with the matter, many division captains have even made complaints in private. In response, Lin Yan shrugged noncommittally. It doesn't matter. Let's wait until we find Robin. Aokiji immediately stopped talking. The expression on his face also became a little complicated. To this day, he still hasn't figured out how he should treat Robin, especially now that he has become a pirate and knows that Ohara has not been destroyed. Aokiji's mood is even more complicated. For Robin now, is he considered an enemy, or is he something else? Aokiji doesn't know. Lin Yan seemed to notice Aokiji's confusion, smiled and patted his crew member on the shoulder. Don't think so much, everything will have an ending in the end. Lin Yan said this. No matter whether you are entangled or resentful, everything will have a conclusion in the end. I believe that Aokiji in front of him has already been mentally prepared for this. Aokiji nodded silently, then looked directly at Lin Yan. Lin, can I ask you a question? What? Were you there at that time in Ohara? Aokiji suddenly asked Lin Yan extremely seriously. He is now very suspicious that Lin Yan was also one of the participants in Ohara's incident. Otherwise, many things will not make sense at all. Nicole Orbia's attitude, Ohara's retention, if it were the man in front of her, he might really be able to do such incredible things. Lin Yan had no intention of denying this. Anyway, now that he is back, no matter what happens next, Lin Yan has the confidence to deal with it. Besides, as long as you don't tell everything yourself, no one could even think of time travel. So in view of this, Lin Yan nodded straightforwardly. Yes, I was there back then. Although he had been mentally prepared for such a result, Aokiji couldn't help but widen his eyes when he heard Lin Yan say it himself. After a while, the man who had been silent for a long time asked silently. So, Lin, how old are you now? That's right, Aokiji didn't think about time travel. But there are simpler ideas. You have to know what happened to Ohara back then, but many years have passed. If Lin Yan was also a participant at that time, then this guy's age. Lin Yan. Good guy. Is this a blind spot? Faced with Aokiji's strange question, even Lin Yan was a little confused. To be honest, he was still a young man in his 20s. Why was his age suddenly suspected? Is this reasonable? However, in order to deal with Aokiji, Lin Yan finally nodded with a strange expression. Did you forget I had that? Understood. Aokiji nodded immediately. When Lin Yan used the Holy Grail of the Netherworld to rejuvenate Whitebeard and return to his peak, Aokiji also saw it with his own eyes. When you think about it, it is very reasonable, isn't it? Lin Yan was a little speechless, and after thinking about it, he made up for it like a last resort. Although I don't know what you are thinking, I have been sleeping most of the time. I have only been active for a few major events. It is only in the past few years that I often come out. Aokiji was stunned when he heard this. But if you think about it carefully, it's true. Lin Yan's rise to fame only happened in recent years. Logically speaking, such a powerful existence cannot remain unknown forever. That would make sense if he was sleeping most of the time. Thinking about it, Aokiji understood everything and asked Lin Yan with a smile. Na Lin, what is your actual age now? 20s. Lin Yan answered without hesitation. To be honest, he is a genuine young man. If he is misunderstood as an old man here, even Lin Yan will not be able to bear it. Fortunately, I got through it. Aokiji wasn't suspicious either. After all, compared to the old guys who are still dominating the sea, Lin Yan's behavior is completely different from them, more like a supernova. And there are so many strange things in this world. Whitebeard is rejuvenated all the time, and someone who has been sleeping for more than 10 years doesn't seem to be a big deal. Aokiji said that he is well informed, not a big problem. So the matter ends here, don't mention it again. Well, I probably won't be surprised if I learn something strange later. Looking at the calm Lin Yan in front of him, Aokiji couldn't help but smile bitterly. To put it into detail, the man in front of me has done quite a lot of great things. Summit War, Mariejois, Nine Snake Island, the Fishmen Island, and now Ohara. It seems that in every major incident that drives the world government crazy, there is a shadow of this man in front of him. This makes no sense. Aokiji expresses emotional stability. Even if someone tells him next that Lin Yan is actually related to the birth of the historical text, Aokiji will not be surprised. Of course, he didn't know it at this time, but this sentence was a complete prophecy. This is something for later, so I won't mention it for now. Naturally, the next voyage was as boring as ever, except that the three of them were a little taciturn compared to before, but now the ship was quite lively. The reason is naturally because of the existence of Kuina. Even though she has become a famous swordsman at this moment, Kuina's character has not changed much. She is still very lively and likes to stick to Lin Yan. Just like it is now. Well, I can't beat him. Once again, the long knife in Lin Yan's hand was knocked away. Kuina pursed her lips with a disappointed expression, and then cast an angry look at Lin Yan. I have never suffered such grievances. Ever since she mastered the skills of Professor Lin Yan and started to swim on the sea, Kuina has not lost a single game, but at most it has only ended in a draw. The result is in Lin Yan's hands. She seems to be the little girl she once was. I can't last a minute. What about the master who promised to teach the disciples to starve to death? Kuina said she couldn't accept it. Teacher, you are too perverted. Have you ever really taught me seriously? Kuina puffed up her cheeks and said to Lin Yan. You obviously want to become the world's greatest swordsman, but what if your teacher over-perverts you? As for Kuina's soul question, Lin Yan shrugged it off as irrelevant. That's because you haven't learned enough yet, otherwise you wouldn't be able to survive even a minute, right? Kuina had nothing to say. She herself can also realize that the swordsmanship she has honed for many years is simply full of flaws in Lin Yan's eyes. If the gap in other aspects is added, she can say that she has no chance of winning. If the teacher is too perverted, it will be distressing for the students. Kuina thought like this, and then immediately started her daily performance. I don't care. It must be that you didn't teach me seriously, so I asked for extra classes. Kuina started to mess around with Lin Yan. She seemed to have become the coquettish girl in the dojo again. This happens every day. The sword demon who frightened many swordsmen actually had such a side. When he saw it for the first time, even Aokiji had an expression of doubt about his life. But now, he and Nicole Albia are used to it. And because of Kuina's presence, the ship has been filled with a happy atmosphere recently, and even Aokiji and Nicole Orbia's worried moods have faded a lot. But what is supposed to come will eventually come. About a week later, the three of them were on docked at the port of the capital of Seven Waters. According to the information obtained by Aokiji, Robin has been hiding here secretly since the Alabasta theft incident. Lin Yan was also helpless about this. Probably because of his own intervention, Robin's fate is very different from that in the original work. Everything has become different since the destruction of Ohara, which was the source. Just like Hancock Jr. and Fisher Tiger at the time. Of course, people at this point in time, it is impossible to detect such a difference. Lin Yan is the only one who knows the truth, so time travel. What a terrible thing. It's no wonder that many science fiction movies have such plots. Lin Yan shook his head. The current situation was good or bad, and he simply didn't want to think about such a complicated issue. Teacher, we are ready here. Shall we go find the informant now? Kuina on the other side had regained her awe-inspiring look and asked Lin Yan. Only her teacher is qualified to see her soft side. When dealing with other people, Kuina always keeps strangers away. Lin Yan did not answer, but turned to look at Aokiji on the other side. Aokiji also understands. Without saying anything, he started playing with the phone bug in his hand. Nicole Albia remained silent from beginning to end, but with obvious worry on her pretty face, she stared directly at the phone bug in Aokiji's hand, as if she was hesitant to speak. What? That's it. I understand. You did the right thing. Leave the rest to us. However, I heard the voice coming from the other side of the phone. Aokiji's expression gradually turned ugly. After a long while, under the suspicious gazes of everyone, he reached out and hung up the phone bug in his hand. That's the first thing you say. We seem to be a step too late. Varied? Hearing these words, Nicole Albia was the first to lose control and asked hurriedly. What happened? Where's Robin? Albia, don't be impatient. Lin Yan, on the other hand, acted quite calmly, raised his hand to signal Nicole Orbia to calm down, and then asked Aokiji expressionlessly. Robin was captured? As expected of you. Aokiji let out a breath. Things are getting complicated. This time our opponent is CP9. As he spoke, Aokiji's tone paused slightly. Although I hate to say this. But we seem to be mentally prepared to face these guys. Aokiji said with great solemnity. As a former Marine Admiral, Aokiji can be said to be very familiar with the business processes of world government, especially as the CP organization of their eagle dogs. Aokiji also knows more than the average person. Although I hate to say this, but Robin is now in the hands of CP9. It can be said that there is more danger than danger. How come? After hearing Aokiji's words, Nicole Albia felt her vision go dark and she almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Kuina on the other side had quick eyesight and quick hands to support her. But Lin Yan, after pondering for a moment, gently shook his head. Not necessarily. Robin should be safe now. With that said, Lin Yan looked at Aokiji. When was Robin taken away? According to the informant, it was about 3 days ago when we were still sailing. Aokiji answered straightforwardly, and then looked at Lin Yan with some confusion. Lin, do you think Robin is okay? It will be okay for the time being, but it will be hard to say after a while. Lin Yan nodded lightly. Regarding the CP organization, he was almost familiar with the Aokiji in front of him. After all, they are old friends who have interacted with each other a lot, right? They are the eagle dogs of the world government, loyal lackeys in the literal sense. It is precisely because of this that the CP organization has only one way of doing things. Eliminate all threats to world government, and create value for world government as much as possible. Just a bunch of loyal watchdogs. Therefore, what CP9 will do next is almost predictable, draining every ounce of value from Robin and then disposing of it like garbage. In other words, at least in the first few days, when nothing was pried out of Robin's mouth, the girl was still safe. Of course, this time shouldn't be too long. I see, it makes sense, then we have to act quickly. After listening to Lin Yan's analysis, Aokiji nodded. It is indeed the way CP behaves. Then the problem becomes very simple. It's nothing more than grabbing time. The only solution is to rescue Robin before CP9 thinks she has lost her use value. Thinking about it, Aokiji touched his chin. There's no other way. It seems I can only force my way in once. Aokiji said bluntly to everyone. For this man, this is probably a very outrageous act, but it is also the only way at the moment. After all, just look at the identities of a few people and you will know, right? A former Marine admiral who has been turned into a pirate. An apparently dead Ohara scholar. A lonely swordsman. Plus the world government's #1 nemesis. There is no other way besides forcing it in, right? To be fair, if you have enough time, you may be able to find other ways, but time waits for no one now. Who knows when Robin will be deemed to have lost value? By that time, it's too late. Then when do we start taking action? Kuina doesn't talk much, she simply nods her head in agreement. As long as her teacher is there, Kuina will be there. Not to mention she has a good relationship with Nicole Orbia. Although Nicole Albia's face was full of worry, she didn't say anything after all. As mentioned before, breaking in by force may be the only way. So the three of them looked at Lin Yan together. They are all waiting for Lin Yan to make the final decision. Facing the gazes of the three people, Lin Yan suddenly laughed. Everyone knows that breaking in by force is the stupidest way, right? Although we have the ability to do so, the most important thing is to ensure Robin's safety first, right? Lin Yan smiled and spread his hands. With his current strength, it is naturally enough to do this, and he will not have any scruples. But considering Robin's safety issues, breaking in was undoubtedly the stupidest thing to do. Aokiji naturally knew this and couldn't help but sigh. But with our current status. Hey, Lin, do you have any other ideas? Of course there is this. To Aokiji's surprise, Lin Yan smiled and nodded. Have you all forgotten? Secretly, I am a thorn in the side of those old guys, but on the surface, it seems that is not the case, right? Aokiji was stunned when he heard this. Then he reacted quickly. That makes sense. How could I forget this? Lin Yan is now the 5th emperor of the sea. As for his relationship with the world government, it can only be described as haha. This is something that every powerful force in the sea is well aware of. But that's not the case on the surface. Previously, in order to isolate and balance the Whitebeard pirates, the 5 elders specially gave Lin Yan the title of Sea Emperor without a bounty, which was intended to express Lin Yan's good relationship with the world government. In the eyes of many idle people, Lin Yan is the Emperor of the Sea appointed by the world government. So in this way, this Sea Emperor, who has a good relationship with the world government, went to pay a little visit to the world government's affiliated institutions to show the friendship between the two parties. It's also very reasonable, right? There's something going on. Aokiji's eyes suddenly lit up. Good guy, it turns out that I still have this skill. Looking at Lin Yan in front of him, Aokiji's eyes were full of respect. Such a shameless. Well, I mean such a clever idea, I'm afraid only Lin Yan in front of me can think of it. Then let's do it. Aokiji nodded without hesitation. Lin Yan also showed a wicked smile. Then take action now, Aokiji, you and Orbia. If you stay here, don't come with me. Lin Yan said to Aokiji and Nicole Orbia. This is also a matter of course. After all, one is a marine trader. The other one is even an Ohara scholar who is recorded as dead. The status of these two people makes them unsuitable for a friendly visit, right? So now Kuina is happy. Me. Teacher, you want to take me with you, right? Kuina looked at Lin Yan expectantly and asked. She is a lonely swordsman and has no connection with these forces. As Lin Yan's assistant, this identity is naturally the most suitable. Lin Yan also smiled and reached out to touch Kuina's head. Yes, it seems that this time it is our master and apprentice's adventure. Oh, so the matter was decided happily. As the saying goes, emergency matters should be followed, and everyone immediately started to make minimum preparations. Then Aokiji and Nicole Albia stayed, while Lin Yan took Kuina on the boat. Nicole Albia's eyes couldn't stop worrying. Must be careful. After all, I couldn't hold it back. When she saw Kuina retracting the anchor and the two were about to set sail, Nicole Orbia couldn't help but said to Lin Yan. Even she knew that saying such words at this time would only add pressure to the two of them. And in response, Lin Yan just smiled confidently at her. You just need to trust me like before, just like that time in Ohara. There was an unspeakable wave of emotion in Nicole Albia's eyes, and then she watched the boat the two of them were on disappearing from sight. 3 days flew by. World Government, Enies Lobby. Teacher, Enies Lobby is ahead. Should we dock now? Looking at the outline of Enies Lobby from a distance, Kuina, who was controlling the rudder, turned to Lin Yan and asked. In order to avoid being discovered on the way, the two deliberately did not choose the more convenient sea train, but took a long detour and insisted on taking a boat. This is also to prevent some people from getting the news in advance and transferring Robin away. After all, once Lin Yan lands in Enies Lobby, if no one else says it, those 5 old guys will definitely react. This is for Nico Robin. He was caught off guard. There doesn't seem to be any problem so far. Regarding his arrival, there was no movement in the Enies Lobby in the distance. Come to shore. So Lin Yan spoke decisively. Kuina naturally complied and soon the boat docked at the port of Enies Lobby. And of course, they were stopped as soon as they got off the boat. Who are you? A group of Marines looked at the two of them with eager eyes, their faces full of vigilance. You know, this is Enies Lobby. Someone actually stopped the ship and docked it without permission. Isn't this a sign of contempt for the majesty of the world government and Marine? The Marines had anger on their faces, but after seeing Lin Yan's appearance, they fell silent instantly. How could it be possible? He is actually the captain of the 17th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates. Fart. He is now the Emperor of the Sea. The Marines naturally became commotion. Lin Yan is now famous. As the 5th Emperor of the Sea, even the Marine here is very familiar with him and does not dare to offend him at will. Even though this is Enies Lobby, even the garrison commander's hands trembled when he saw Lin Yan's appearance, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He couldn't sit still anymore and hurriedly ran down from the sentry tower. Ahem. It turns out to be Mr. Lin Yan. Why do you want to come to our Enies Lobby all of a sudden? The captain on duty quickly stepped forward and asked Lin Yan kindly. The man in front of me, he didn't dare to offend him at all. After all, the higher-ups have said that if any tasks involve Lin Yan's existence, they can be abandoned immediately without any accountability. Listen. What is a card face? Even the people above had such an order. How could he dare to offend a small garrison leader? As for the relationship between this man and the world government, that's not something a little guy like him should care about. Facing the defender in front of him, Lin Yan immediately showed a flattering smile on his face. Nothing, I just came to visit, Lin Yan said with a smile. I've long heard that Enies Lobby and the Gate of Justice in Marine are very spectacular. Didn't I just happen to pass by here? Just come and take a look. Trust me, although I am a pirate, I still have a pretty good relationship with you. This time it's just a friendly visit. Captain of the garrison. Where are you fooling me? I believe you. It's a friendly visit. Why didn't you just say you were here to demolish Enies Lobby? Of course, although he was complaining in his heart, on the surface, he did not dare to have any opinions and immediately nodded with a smile. That's it. Then please come with me, sir, and I will take you to see our commander. He didn't dare to offend Lin Yan at all, so he could only say this. So the rest of the journey was naturally without any obstacles. Under the cordial guidance of the garrison leader, Lin Yan politely expressed that he wanted to see the customs of Enies Lobby, then declined the other party's request to continue being a tour guide and left with Kuina. The leader of the garrison naturally ran away sweating profusely, and then immediately reported to his superiors. Enies Lobby today. A great big shot has arrived. This is no longer something he can decide. He is not even qualified to be the chief of Enies Lobby. And the other side. Lin Yan, who got rid of Marine's entanglement, took Kuina to a secluded alley. Teacher, what are we doing now? Kuina asked enthusiastically. There was obvious excitement in his eyes. For Kuina, this is also a very novel experience. After all, this is Enies Lobby. When she thought that her teacher would do bad things with her next, Kuina became eager to do it. Facing Kuina like this, Lin Yan smiled softly. Let's go distribute newspapers. Lin Yan narrowed his eyes slightly, with a wicked smile on his face. If you come to visit yourself, the bigger the fuss, the better. The greater the movement, the better it will be for subsequent actions. It's best to make the fuss known to everyone and let the world's attention focus on Enies Lobby, the more flaws the CP organization will have. And how to make the trouble known to everyone as quickly as possible. Of course it made the headlines. Kuina, you go and distribute newspapers to major newspapers. I'll go check on Robin's situation. I see. Kuina naturally nodded without hesitation. In view of Lin Yan's status as a follower, no one dares to stop her in Enies Lobby now. Kuina is walking sideways in a literal sense. Who can't call me, miss, when I see you? As for Lin Yan, he sneaked into Enies Lobby without anyone noticing and began to explore Robin's whereabouts. I have to say that the guards here are extremely tight. 5 steps and 1 post, 10 steps and 1 sentry. However, for Lin Yan now, it is too easy to avoid their detection. It went around in circles for a while, Only then did Lin Yan find Robin's location in the complex Enies Lobby. At this moment, the girl was huddled in the corner of the room with her hands on her knees. Seeing that nothing happened to the girl, Lin Yan breathed a sigh of relief. I found it, it's easy to talk about it next. As long as the person is found, the next thing will be easy to say. As long as Robin is still in Enies Lobby, Lin Yan has 10,000 ways to take her out. Even if the world government will go crazy over this matter. As long as you're here, it won't be a big problem. Seeing Robin's pitiful look with his hands on his knees, Lin Yan smiled slightly, then gently stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers, and a mark was imprinted on Robin's body without anyone noticing. In this way, Lin Yan can sense Robin's location at any time. After doing all this, Lin Yan glanced at Robin, and then left as quietly as when he came, turning back to the meeting place agreed with Kuina. Teacher, the task has been completed. Seeing Lin Yan appear, Kuina's eyes lit up slightly, and then she reported to Lin Yan with a smile. All newspapers that can be distributed have been distributed. Now it depends on the next reaction of the world government. Lin Yan reached out and touched Kuina's head with some approval. Well done. Hee, now that all that can be done has been done, Lin Yan and Kuina enjoyed the hospitality of the Enies Lobby officials with peace of mind. He looked like he really wanted to visit here. And at the same time on the other side, holy place, Mariejois. Damn it. That's just too much. Still in the familiar conference room, 5 elders, who was leaning on crutches, slapped the newspaper in his hand on the table fiercely, his old face full of gloom. This is simply unreasonable. Do you really think we dare not touch you? Because of Lin Yan's existence, world government's plans have failed many times, and the losses have not been huge. But because of Lin Yan's incomparable strength, they have been making concessions. After all, stability is the most important thing for rulers. However, 5 elders never expected that this repeated forbearance to Lin Yan would actually cause the other party to reach into the text of history. The world government simply cannot afford to have a blank 100 years exposed. That would be a disaster for the entire world government. We can't wait any longer. We must take action immediately to destroy everything and regain control of history. The faces of the other 5 elders were also extremely gloomy. But just when everyone was furious, a figure suddenly appeared in the conference room. To be honest, you guys let me down. The visitor spoke calmly. If an ordinary person dared to say such things in this conference room, he would have been dragged out and chopped into pieces. However, facing this person, the 5 elders suddenly broke out in cold sweat, and they were as obedient as their grandsons and did not dare to move at all. Existence before my eyes, but the god of celestial dragons. The whole world is truly slaughtered. Compared to this one, they may appear to be in a high position, but in fact they are just ordinary wage earners. Lord, we. The 5 elders, who had been furious before, turned pale, hesitating as if they wanted to explain something, but could not find any excuse. Didn't care about their reactions. To him, whether it is the world government, Marine, or the 5 elders in front of him, they are just eagle dogs guarding his door, and there is no difference in essence. Just give the order. In view of this, spoke directly. Use all your power to destroy him, and then restore history to the right track. Otherwise, there will be no need for you to exist. I will do it myself. This is an order. Yes, we understand. Faced with such an order, the 5 elders didn't dare to have any objections. They immediately nodded in agreement and lay on the ground without daring to move. To this adult, everyone is just an ant under his feet. Until left, the 5 elders were still daring to move. It wasn't until Im's breath completely disappeared that the 5 elders raised their heads as if they had been granted amnesty. Do you understand? Go and prepare. You will never allow failure this time. Even if the existence of that thing is exposed, it doesn't matter. Everyone, start cleaning the whole world. Yes. 3 days later, Enies Lobby. Teacher, I feel like the time is almost here. Can we start taking action? Kuina took a bite of the delicious pastry in her hand, and then asked Lin Yan. Kuina's tone was a little unclear. Speaking of the recent period of time, it has been extremely comfortable. The 2 of them are now completely guests of Enies Lobby, the kind that no one dares to offend. That's right. How dare those Marines offend the 5th Emperor? That's right, it's time to start. However, Lin Yan's expression was not as relaxed as Kuina's. He just narrowed his eyes and nodded his head. I don't know if it's an illusion. He always felt that something big was about to happen, and the entire sea seemed to be filled with an ominous atmosphere. This is the intuition of a strong person. Then, just as Lin Yan was thinking like this, the system's voice suddenly came. Ding. It has been detected that a major event is about to begin, and the system is now starting to upgrade, with a progress of 1%, 0.2%. Ding. The upgrade is complete. New functions have been included, please check it yourself. Lin Yan was stunned. Good guy breakthrough? In other words, is something big really going to happen? Realizing this, Lin Yan's expression instantly became serious. It seemed that his hunch was not groundless. Thinking about it, Lin Yan immediately started to check the newly entered functions in the system. In fact, there are only 2 points in summary. The first point is bait synthesis. In the past, when Lin Yan was fishing, each piece of bait would take a day, which was time-consuming and labor-intensive, and the probability of dropping something good was also very low. You must know that after experiencing several major events, the bait in his hands has already exceeded 1,000. If it is fishing, how many years can it take? Only a ghost can sit there for years. After the system is upgraded, it will be simple. You can synthesize a huge amount of bait and get better rewards in a shorter time. The most expensive one among them is glorious bait, which requires 1,000 baits to be synthesized. And there is only 1 day of fishing. Reasonable. It can be said to be a very nice new feature. The efficiency of the system has directly increased significantly. And the most important thing is the second point. When he saw the second newly added function, it was Lin Yan, and he couldn't help but have a flash of surprise in his eyes, and even his breathing became rapid. The reason is also very simple. On the system panel that Lin Yan called up, there were 4 big words written in the place of new functions. System buyout. Good guy. I'm a good guy. Lin Yan was pleasantly surprised when he saw this function. The so-called system buyout means literally, as long as you successfully meet the requirements, all the props and abilities in the system will belong to you and can be used at any time, without any cost. To hell with fishing and all that. You must know that there are countless abilities and treasures in the world. If you really control this, wouldn't it mean that a wave of woohoo takes off? Becoming a god is probably a piece of cake. Of course, the conditions are not so easy to achieve. There are several prerequisites for successfully controlling the system. Conquer the world. 100 devil fruits. Reach the end of the world. As long as these 3 conditions are met, the system will become Lin Yan's own ability, and from then on, the sky is high and the birds can fly. Teacher. What's wrong with you? As if aware of Lin Yan's surprised look, Kuina tilted her head strangely and couldn't help but ask Lin Yan. She had never seen her teacher show such an expression. Could it be that something good is about to happen? Kuina couldn't help but think so secretly. However, at this time, Lin Yan had no intention of replying to her. He just raised his head and said to Kuina. Kuina, I have something to learn for 2 days, please help me guard the door until then. Oh. I know. Although Kuina was very surprised, she still nodded obediently. Then he watched Lin Yan walk into the bedroom and close the door without saying a word. After finishing the pastries in her hand with 3 strokes, 5 and 2, Kuina stood up and drew out her long sword, and began to act as Lin Yan's loyal little guard. Although I don't know what my teacher is going to do, during this period of time, not even a fly can fly in. At the same time, on the other side, Lin Yan had synthesized the bait needed for this fishing. 2 glorious baits. It's worth the 2,000 baits from before. This was saved by Lin Yan after experiencing several major events. He originally wanted to find time to fish slowly, but now he doesn't need to. Let's not talk about controlling the system, let's talk about the benefits first. System, start fishing. Then Lin Yan sat there for 2 days. 2 days later, Lin Yan ended his fishing with anticipation. At the same time, the sound of the system came as expected. Congratulations host, the fishing is completed. You currently have 2 brilliant mysterious treasure chests. Do you want to open them? Open. Ding, the shining mysterious treasure box is being opened. Ding, congratulations to host, you won the top level cultivation gift package in the pirate world. Ding, congratulations to host, you got the sword of oblivion, genuine. Woohoo takes off. It is indeed the top treasure chest, and this reward is truly genuine. The first is the top level cultivation gift pack in the pirate world. It contains a lot of Conqueror's hockey training experience. As long as you use this thing, you will be the strongest hockey practitioner in the true sense. Listen to the sounds of everything? Garp the fist? They are all brothers. Of course, Lin Yan used it without hesitation. In an instant, an extremely powerful force burst out, and even Kuina at the door was startled. But Lin Yan didn't have the intention to care about this, and directly took out the other rewarded sword of oblivion. This thing is the big one. Coming from the same world as the Holy Sword Exhibitor, it is an X-level noble phantasm. Legend has it that it is an artifact that created the world in Sumerian mythology. In a literal sense, its possessor has the power to split the entire world. And it's still authentic. It's not a Zybe product in some golden Pika's treasure house. Good guy. I'll push straight away. Looking at the weird-looking sword in his hand that exuded an extremely terrifying aura, Lin Yan laughed with great satisfaction. At this moment, Kuina also pushed the door open and barged in. Teacher? What's wrong? The girl's face is full of panic. This is also a matter of course. She was dutifully guarding the door before, but suddenly she felt an extremely terrifying aura erupting from the room where Lin Yan was, and she rushed over in a hurry. Then he saw the jewelry sword in Lin Yan's hand at a glance. The girl couldn't help but tilt her head in confusion. To be honest, she had never seen such a strange thing before. Confused, Kuina couldn't help but ask. Teacher, this is a good thing. Lin Yan raised the jewelry sword in his hand and smiled at Kuina. Kuina made a question mark. This thing looks like 3 cylinders put together. It looks like a blunt instrument but not a blunt instrument. It looks like a sword but not a sword. How else can it be a good thing? After all, we all know it. The weirder the weapon, the faster you will die. Anyway, you should be able to see it soon. However, Lin Yan seemed to have no intention of explaining. He just showed a hearty smile to Kuina and then stood up. Okay, don't talk about whether these are available or not. It's time for us to save Robin. Okay. Seeing Lin Yan saying this, Kuina had no choice but to suppress her doubts and nodded obediently. So the matter was decided happily, and the two of them walked out of the room and went straight to the place where Robin was being held. Although I don't know what the next so-called big event refers to. But now it's clear that time is running out. It just so happened that Lin Yan was tired of playing house with Marine here, so he wanted to rescue Robin first. Master Lin Yan, entry is prohibited here, please forgive me. When the two arrived at their destination, they were naturally stopped by Marine. But the other party's attitude was also very good. After all, there must be no one in Enies Lobby who doesn't know Lin Yan. Of course, their attitude towards him is also very good. If it weren't for the importance of this place, no one would dare to stop it. However, Lin Yan no longer meant to talk nonsense with him. There was no movement from the world government, and coupled with his own bad premonition, Lin Yan already had some guesses about the next development, and naturally he would not continue to write here. What happens next is beyond your control. Lin Yan spoke calmly, but Marine blocked him before he could understand what was happening. A scarlet pupil suddenly appeared in his eyes, and then he didn't know anything at all the next second. Sharingan's hypnosis technique is still as useful as ever against these idlers. Lin Yan nodded with satisfaction, and then raised his chin to Kuina beside him. Okay. Let's go in. Okay. Kuina smiled and nodded, then drew out the long sword from her waist, looking eager to try. Even for her. This is my first time breaking into a prison or anything like that. Besides, she is still with her own teacher. This alone is enough to make Kuina excited. Seeing the girl's appearance, Lin Yan also smiled slightly. Intruder, come on, come on. You go and sound the alarm, and the rest come with me. When Lin Yan and Kuina swaggered in, of course the Marines stationed on duty also noticed something was wrong. After all, looking at the appearance of these two people, they are not good friends, right? Marine from Enies Lobby responded very quickly. In just 1 minute, a large number of people were already standing in front of Lin Yan and Kuina, including even Vice Admiral level players. However, Lin Yan only glanced at these people lightly. Kuina, I leave it to you. Put it on me. Kuina smiled slightly when she heard this, walked up to Lin Yan with the long knife in her hand, and then took a deep breath. Boom. It was hard to imagine how a girl could have such a violent aura. The anger rising from Kuina spread to all directions in an instant. This kind of Kuina is a true sword demon, just as brutal as rumored. Lin Yan commented that he can go back and forth with Hawkeye. This kind of strength is no joke. These Marines can't offer any effective resistance at all. Soon Kuina treated her like a piece of shit. Just because there are so many people, it will take some time. Lin Yan had no intention of intervening, but just watched Kuina chopping melons and vegetables with interest. Such actual combat is also a kind of exercise for a girl, isn't it? It's definitely not because he's too lazy to take action. At the same time, on the other side, Nico Robin also tilted his head in confusion. Just now, she felt an unusual vibration, and even the teacup in her hand trembled. Could it be that something happened? Robin thought to himself. By the way, she is now in a luxurious guest room, and it is already the 3rd day she has been invited here. The treatment can be said to be quite good. There is everything to eat and drink, and you can get a good rest. The only pity is that the people around me have bad intentions. Robin didn't think about escaping. After all, she knew very well that if she was caught by the people from Enies Lobby, it would be difficult for her to leave alive this time. The reason why I still treat myself politely. It's just because you still have value. Robin knew this very well, but unfortunately it would be impossible to pry her mouth open with these gentle methods in this life. I just don't know when the other party will lose patience. Miss Robin, please come with us. Then, just as Robin was thinking this, a tall man walked in. Even though she calls her Miss Robin. However, his attitude was not at all complimentary, it was completely businesslike. What happened? Forget it. It's none of my business, where are you going? Robin asked first, but then quickly shook his head. No matter what happens, it doesn't seem to have much to do with me. He said it as if he could escape. Looking at the man who belonged to CP9 in front of him, Robin didn't resist. He just stood up with a calm face and planned to leave with him. She would not give up the chance to escape, but she also knew that the possibility of leaving alive was not high. Thank you for your cooperation. The man nodded and was about to take Robin to transfer. The next second, the door was opened by a girl. Hello. The girl holding a long knife said hello politely, and then looked directly past the man to Nico Robin behind him, with a bright smile on her pretty face. Are you Sister Robin? My teacher wants to see you, so come with me. There was silence in the room. The man in CP9 was the first to react and was about to attack Kuina, but was knocked unconscious by a very light elbow from the girl. Knocking the man unconscious quickly, Kuina put a smile on her face again. Is there anything else you need to pack? Robin. Are all little girls these days so violent? Robin was speechless, but still composed himself. Do you know me? And who is your teacher? Well, I'll explain it to you when I meet the teacher. I don't know the details very well. Kuina smiled and shook her head, then looked directly at Robin in front of her, her meaning was obvious. How about I carry you away? I see. Robin also knew that he was no match for Kuina in front of him, so he could only nod and compromise. Anyway, since the destruction of Ohara, her life has been full of compromises. As of now, there is nothing unacceptable. With this in mind, Robin followed Kuina honestly and left, and under the leadership of the girl, he soon met Lin Yan, who was confronting Marine. Teacher. I brought Sister Robin. Kuina waved and called to Lin Yan very lively. I know, you two just wait a moment. Lin Yan smiled and nodded, not in the mood to continue playing. As soon as Conqueror's hockey was vomited on him, the Marine in front of him fainted. Under Robin's very surprised gaze, Lin Yan turned around and walked towards her. It should be said that we haven't seen each other for a long time, right? We are all grown-up girls now, Robin. Then the first words he spoke made Robin stunned for a moment. You know me? Robin looked at the man in front of him in surprise. In her memory, she had never known such a strong person. How heartless. I told you a lot of stories when you were a child. Well, that's all. Come with me. I'll take you to meet some old friends. Lin Yan spread his hands and smiled at Robin. Telling stories. Are you? Robin's eyes widened in confusion, as if she had thought of something, but before she could ask for confirmation, Lin Yan had already turned around and walked out. Seeing this, Robin had no choice but to grit his teeth. Indeed, she thought of a person, but that person should have disappeared many years ago. How could he appear here now? Robin was in disbelief. But no matter what, this is also my only chance to leave here. Thinking of this, Robin took a deep breath. Then he finally gritted his teeth and followed Lin Yan's pace. Wait. Robin finally made a choice. To be honest, she didn't believe the man in front of her. The long experience of betraying various forces has made it difficult for Robin to trust others. Even if Lin Yan told what happened when he was a child, Robin subconsciously thought that he just heard it from somewhere. The girl's heart was filled with suspicion and vigilance. It was precisely because of this that Lin Yan did not open his mouth to explain. Even after explaining it, Robin may not believe it. Instead, they will think about various possibilities and try to find flaws. So I won't explain it at all. Anyway, when Robin meets Nicole Albia, everything will be clear, right? On the surface Robin is very strong. But in fact, a girl's inner sense of trust and security is extremely fragile. Lin Yan simply left the prison with Kuina and Robin without saying a word, and then they were stopped as a matter of course. Stop. Do you know what your actions mean now? The person who stopped a few people was a man with purple hair and a mask on his face. The strength is so low that it can almost be ignored. At least to Lin Yan now, this person can be crushed to death as easily as an ant. Generally speaking, Lin Yan has never been interested in idle people. But facing this guy, Lin Yan suddenly laughed. Spandam. How is your father doing now? Lin Yan asked with interest. Yes, the person in front of you is Spandam, the chief of Enies Lobby. The son of Spangdine who was previously manipulated by Lin Yan on Ohara. The father and son seem to be of a really good character. You know my father? Spandam was stunned when he heard this, and asked Lin Yan in surprise. He had never heard of any interaction between the 5th Emperor of the Sea and his father. Of course, after all, your father's fate now is me. What are you doing? Lin Yan opened his mouth with a smile, and was about to tell the guy in front of him what he had done back then, but then his expression turned helpless. Because just when Lin Yan was about to tell the truth, a blue flame suddenly surrounded Spandam, turning him into ashes in an instant. Lin Yan is very familiar with this cyan flame. I mean Marco, you know it's rude to interrupt someone else's speech? Lin Yan spoke helplessly, looking at Marco in the sky. Ha. Lin, now is not the time to joke. However, Marco's eyes were even more helpless than Lin Yan's. Looking at Lin Yan's carefree look, his face was full of speechlessness and solemnity. Lin Yan also realized that something was wrong, and couldn't help but frown and asked Marco. What happened? Our pirate group was attacked. To be precise, the whole world is being purged. Marco replied succinctly. Hearing this, Lin Yan's eyes narrowed instantly. Make it clear. Gu la 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 la. Let me explain this. Then just when Marco was about to reply, a burst of hearty laughter came. The one who could make such laughter was naturally Whitebeard, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Lin Yan's expression relaxed. Whitebeard, are you here too? Gulu la la la. After all, something big has happened. Whitebeard smiled and looked at Lin Yan helplessly. We didn't expect that you would still be playing house here at this time. Lin Yan expressed helplessness, but did not refute. The existence of Enies Lobby may be scary to ordinary people, but it represents the authority of the entire marine and world government. But for top powerhouses like them, this is really just playing house. Okay, tell me what's going on. Now that Whitebeard has arrived, it can be seen that the matter must be serious, so Lin Yan simply sat down and planned to hear what was going on. Gu la 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 la. I just like your character. You don't panic when things happen. You are the material to do great things. Whitebeard laughed and then explained to Lin Yan. In fact, things are quite simple to say. It's nothing more than the world government using huge power to start a cleansing operation all over the world. The Whitebeard pirates are also one of the key targets. This time it's not the little fight before. The elite forces of the world government, the Beasts pirates and the Big Mom pirates, almost all came out this time to raid the territory of the Whitebeard pirates. Other places such as Nine Snake Island, the Fishmen Island, Alabasta and other places will not escape the disaster. Logically speaking, facing such an action would definitely result in heavy losses. At least the former Whitebeard pirates definitely couldn't afford it. But fortunately, Lin Yan has gathered a lot of strong people around him, including Zephyr, Yishao, and Aokiji. There are also many top fighters. But he barely withstood the sudden attack, so everyone gathered together. Faced with the current situation, instead of focusing on protecting the sphere of influence, it is better to concentrate all our efforts on one point. So after Whitebeard's decision, the entire Whitebeard pirate group came to Enies Lobby to find Lin Yan. The rest of the people who were still outside were also coming quickly. The world is about to change. This is something everyone knows. Judging from the attitude of the world government this time, I am afraid that it will never give up until it completely destroys everyone here. I see. After listening to Whitebeard's explanation, Lin Yan nodded very calmly. Other than that, gu la 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 la. I knew you would react like this. Seeing Lin Yan's calm expression, Whitebeard laughed again, looking at Lin Yan with eyes full of approval. Those who are calm are the ones who do great things. To be honest, even Whitebeard himself was shocked by this battle. Not to mention the world government, even the power on his own side was unimaginable. I really don't know if I don't contact you, but I will be shocked when I contact you. And the reason for everyone to come together. It's all because of the man in front of me. At this moment, Lin Yan was enough to become the leader of everyone, so even Whitebeard asked Lin Yan seriously. What should we do next? For Whitebeard, this is probably a fairly rare situation. A remnant of the previous era, the Emperor of the Sea, and the soul of the Whitebeard pirates. Since Whitebeard became famous, he is the absolute center. But this time, they actually brought the entire Whitebeard pirate group's strength to seek Lin Yan's opinion. If other people saw this scene, their jaws would probably drop to the ground. When did Whitebeard say that to a man of one word? Do you need someone else to lead you when doing things? However, everyone present remained silent, just silently focusing their eyes on Lin Yan, waiting for Lin Yan's decision. After experiencing so many things, Lin Yan has gained everyone's trust. Look at the man in front of you. Everyone seems to be able to see the next era rising. Just like Roger and others back then, they single-handedly divided two eras. Lin Yan now has such qualifications, and the power gathered around him is the best proof. However, facing such a crowd, Lin Yan laughed. Before we talk about this, there is something else that needs to be resolved. Do you mind waiting for me? Haha, everyone laughed, and of course Lin Yan spoke dissatisfied. Why are you laughing? And Aokiji, how long do you plan to hide? Lin Yan shouted to the crowd. Now that everyone from the Whitebeard pirates is here, can Aokiji come? You like to hide in the crowd and watch the fun, right? I didn't dare to disturb you because I saw you guys talking about business, but I didn't intend to watch the fun. Aokiji walked out with a helpless expression and made a rare complaint to Lin Yan. No one made a sound. But Robin, who was standing behind Lin Yan, suddenly paused in his eyes. Looking straight at Nicole Orbia behind Aokiji. You are. With the appearance of Nicole Orbia, her memory revived rapidly, so that the calm Robin lost his composure and looked at his mother in disbelief. Robin. Nicole Orbia suddenly couldn't hold it any longer, and under everyone's gaze, she rushed forward and hugged Robin, tears naturally flowing down her face. This. On the contrary, Robin seemed a little at a loss. After all, in her memory, Ohara should have been destroyed long ago. Being hugged by Nicole Orbia at this moment gave Robin an unreal feeling as if she was in a dream. Looking at this scene, Lin Yan smiled softly. Just leave the next thing to Nicole Orbia. At this time, don't disturb the touching scene of mother and daughter reunion. Everyone also retreated in understanding. The captain and Lin Yan's crew arranged for the rest of the people to be stationed outside the Enies Lobby, and then a large group of central characters returned to the previous guest room with Lin Yan. As for Marine, don't dare to move. Soon, a group of people gathered together for the rare occasion. Looking at the large group of strong men around them, Whitebeard nodded, and immediately asked Lin Yan. Lin, what are your next plans? You know, world government is serious this time. Whitebeard rarely stopped laughing heartily. There was also a rare heaviness on his resolute face. The full strength of world government, this is no joke. The more top-notch beings are, the more they know this. Sea emperors like Whitebeard clearly understand the horror of world government. Otherwise, how could they, the sea emperors, honestly guard their own land? No one knows what cards the world government can bring to the table. The rest of the people also nodded solemnly. Who knows how many things celestial dragons hides? However, facing everyone's solemn expressions, Lin Yan suddenly laughed. Don't worry, I'll show you something first. Lin Yan suddenly smiled and spoke. Then his aura suddenly exploded. Conqueror's Hockey. This is? Have I seen a ghost? Everyone's eyes are about to pop out. Are you telling me this is Conqueror's Hockey? You must know that everyone here is a famous and powerful person in the sea. I have seen Conqueror's Hockey once or twice, but this thing. I'm a good guy. Under the cover of this huge Conqueror's Hockey, the weaker squad leader fainted directly. Aokiji and others' heads were dazed and they were about to faint. Even Whitebeard, who has now returned to his peak, felt dizzy for a while. Are you kidding me? Never before has Conqueror's Hockey been so powerful. This is completely a myth. It wasn't until Lin Yan took Hockey back after half a while that the whole room. Well, it wasn't a room that had been completely destroyed, and you could still hear the drop of a needle. Anyone who could still stand looked at Lin Yan like a monster. Goo la 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 la. This is really unbelievable. After a while, Whitebeard was the first to react. The clouds disappeared from his face and he laughed heartily. As everyone knows, Conqueror's Hockey is the qualification to become a king. And if we can reach Lin Yan's point, isn't he the chosen king? Then you have to worry about it. Whitebeard doesn't know how Lin Yan became so powerful, but that's not important. What's important is that at this moment, everyone witnessed the birth of the new king. I'm convinced. Hey, this guy is really annoying compared to other people. Marco couldn't help but complain. We've all seen this, so there's really nothing we can do about it. Lin, just tell us what we're going to do next, right? Marco asked Lin Yan, and everyone else nodded. It's simple, focus all your efforts on Enies Lobby, and then we only have to do two things. Facing everyone's eager gazes, Lin Yan smiled and stretched out two fingers. First, wipe out the Enies Lobby. Concentrate all your strength here and clear out all the marines. Before tomorrow, only our people will be left here. Second, follow me and hit Mariejois. Even if it is already headed by Lin Yan. But after hearing Li Liyuan's plan, everyone immediately silenced themselves. Destroy Enies Lobby. Hit Mariejois. People doing things? Who in the world is so brave? How dare you? This is putting the face of the world government under its feet. But having said that, Gu la 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 la, so proud, be sure to bring Lousy with you. Whitebeard was the first to grin. Have to say. How dare you? But it's just what I want. Anyway, we are already in a state of discord. Either you die or I live, so there is no need to hesitate, just play Mariejois and win the bird seat. Laozi has been unhappy with the world government for a long time. Lin Yan's plan can be said to be exactly what Whitebeard wanted. If he was still a little hesitant before, now he has seen Lin Yan's power. It's over with him. Okay, you are really brave. If I don't obey anyone in my life, I will obey you. Let's go. Give them some color. The others also gave thumbs up. Then action began immediately. The first step is to wipe out Enies Lobby. You must know that this is the gateway to the world government. To be occupied by pirates like this, you can imagine how painful some people's faces are. When they think of this, everyone is very excited. Everything went very smoothly. This is a matter of course. With a group of top experts led by Whitebeard, the defenders of Enies Lobby are not even qualified to resist. It was quickly emptied out completely. In front of the gate of justice, only pirates are left. There is a steady stream of people coming. These people are the huge force under the leadership of the Whitebeard pirates, and the force around Lin Yan is also gathering more and more. Those who are here are still on their way. This is enough power to overturn the world. However, Lin Yan is the coach at this moment. He was face to face with Robin, sitting with big eyes and small eyes. Why did not you tell me? Robin held the teacup and asked Lin Yan in front of him. His eyes had completely lost the calmness before, and were instead filled with another kind of complicated and difficult to understand emotions. These feelings all come from the man in front of me. Even if I explained it to you before, you would definitely question me suspiciously, right? Lin Yan scratched his head and said helplessly. Robin was speechless. Although he wanted to deny it, Lin Yan was right. If Lin Yan had told the truth when they first met, he would have been suspicious and might have felt offended. Nicole Albia looked at the two of them, covered her mouth and snickered from the other side. Lin Yan glared at her, then looked at Robin helplessly. So, you're going to sit here with me all afternoon? Please let me repay you. Robin bit his lip, then suddenly raised his head and said to Lin Yan. She wanted to repay this man. She already knew from her mother's mouth that Ohara was not destroyed, her relatives and friends were still alive, and everything was brought about by Lin Yan in front of her. At this moment, Robin only felt grateful. Lin Yan's helpless image gradually overlapped with that of his elder brother when he was a child. Just the thought of that. Robin couldn't help but laugh out loud. It turns out that I am never alone. There are many people watching me in unknown places. Just knowing this makes Robin happy enough. I understand. In that case, I really have something to leave you to do. Looking at Robin's look, Lin Yan also laughed. After this incident is over, help me study the historical text. You and Ohara scholars will work together. I think in the new era, this is not illegal after all, right? Before that, nothing happens to you. Go back to Ohara first. I will send people to protect it. Hearing this, Nicole Albia and Robin were stunned for a moment, and then nodded heavily. I understand. X2 seeing that the two agreed, Lin Yan nodded with a smile, and then followed the original plan and found a team of elite Whitebeard pirates to escort the two away. In the coming new era, the research of Ohara scholars will probably become a top priority. And next. This is real war. In the following period, Enies Lobby began to quickly gather huge power. This portal of justice that once belonged to the world government has now become the world of pirates. And today, Enies Lobby has a special guest. Just when Lin Yan finished counting the people and was about to set off, a man in a cloak suddenly appeared in front of everyone, followed by a group of strange guys. I heard, let's help you. Men talk very little. But the tone was full of seriousness. Looking at the man in front of her, Lin Yan narrowed her eyes and smiled. Are you sure? If you follow me, you will not exist in the next new world. Lin Yan looked at the man in front of him and smiled. He was very familiar with this man. Monkey D. Dragon, the leader of the revolutionary army. Now that the war is about to begin, this most mysterious force finally shows its fangs. Wouldn't we exist? That would be a really happy thing. Then the dragon also laughed. He understood what Lin Yan meant. This does not mean that after the arrival of the new world, people like myself will be dealt with. Rather, in the new era, there will be no soil suitable for the revolutionary army. That will be a whole new era. Isn't this exactly what the revolutionary army is willing to spend their lives achieving? Their current struggles are all so that there will be no more people like them in the future. So naturally there was nothing to hesitate about. Long silently led the people behind him to join the team, and his stance was already very clear. Of course, Lin Yan would have no objection to this. Everyone, go and witness the birth of a new era. Oh. After gathering strength for many days, they took full action at this moment. Under the leadership of Lin Yan, they passed through the gate of justice and pointed directly at the Holy Land Mariejois. Over the next few days, everyone noticed the group's presence. What do they want to do? How dare they? The major newspapers were frantically reporting the relevant information. The bright world and the dark world were beginning to stir up, and everyone was looking at it with their own thoughts. Only world government, another protagonist, showed no movement. In every sea area that the pirates arrived at, the marines here seemed to have vanished from the world, with not a single trace of human beings in sight. Lin Yan doesn't care much about this either. Anyway, as long as the world government does not give up resistance. What is supposed to come will always come. War is inevitable. Then just a week later, when everyone arrived at the foot of the red line, the power of the world government finally stopped them in front of them. The leaders were naturally a few old acquaintances. Kong stood in front of the formation, looking at Lin Yan with a complicated expression, and sighed softly after a while. Does it have to be like this? Kong sighed. The whole person seemed to have aged several years again. Everyone knows what will happen next, and it is almost inevitable, but if possible, the old Marine Marshal wants to make one last effort. What responded to him was Lin Yan's unwavering voice. It must be so. Lin Yan looked at Kong and said seriously. World government has reached a point of destruction, and today is the day it will be destroyed. Lin Yan will also fulfill his promise. Kill all those arrogant and shameless things. Why? Although he had known this would be the result, Kong still sighed and waved his hand helplessly. In that case, let's get started. Everyone, protect what you should protect. This is the end. Start the war. Boom! As these words fell, countless powerful auras from both camps suddenly erupted, and then they collided one after another. For a moment, the scene was extremely chaotic. All kinds of forces are intertwined, the top strong men are using their methods one after another, and ordinary pirates and marines are fighting together. A literal world war. Look! What is that? Just when the two sides were fighting, someone suddenly exclaimed, and everyone looked towards the sky. The unbelievably huge ancient machinery stands there, shrouding the sky above Mariejois. You don't need to know the details, just looking at it can give people a huge sense of oppression. Uranus. Lin Yan narrowed his eyes slightly. Appearing on this battlefield at this time, it is conceivable that it must be the trump card of celestial dragons, but whether it is Uranus or not is unknown. Boom. Then in the next moment, the trump card of the celestial dragons, who claim to be gods, exploded with unimaginable power. A huge beam of light fell from the sky, completely destroying everything within range. Gu la 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 la. It seems that Lousy can't sit still anymore. Whitebeard immediately slashed, his eyes not showing any fear, but full of expectation. Facing Celestial Dragon's trump card, he also wanted to try it. Everyone, stand down. With a burst of hearty laughter, Whitebeard stepped forward without fear. The power of the shock fruit in his hand exploded with all its strength, and the entire sea was overturned. Boom! Along with the violent roar, Whitebeard actually resisted this terrifying attack by himself. Of course, it was not without cost. There was blood all over his body, but he was obviously not seriously injured. Can only say, he is indeed the strongest man in the world. Seeing this scene, everyone calmed down a little, and then continued to fight against the power of the world government. Then the whole battlefield became increasingly chaotic. A loud shout suddenly sounded. Brother Lin Yan, let's help you. Brother Lin, we've been waiting for you again for a long time. As the sea surged, countless the Fishmen Island warriors and sea kings appeared on the battlefield, raiding from the right wing of the world government. Shirahoshi, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, stood on the sea and smiled sweetly at Lin Yan. If the power of being a Poseidon can turn the world upside down, then now is the best time to use it, right? It would be so disappointing if we were forgotten. Before everyone in the world government could react, another sudden change occurred on the left wing. Ain and Hancock arrived belatedly with the warriors from Nine Snake Island, and without saying a word began to cooperate with the offensive of the warriors from the Fishmen Island. A giant dragon that can control all the elements around it, and Hancock, who is extremely dexterous, just joined the battlefield, and everyone was stunned. What made Lin Yan dumbfounded was that Hancock didn't forget to wink at him despite his busy schedule. The character of this empress is still the same as before. However, the two of them were stopped before they could show off their authority for a long time. Well, it looks like you're not too late. Using the huge mace to resist Ain's huge strength, Kaido smiled wildly, his expression full of violence. Dragon versus dragon? This is really interesting. Just right with my heart. Stop talking nonsense, Kaido. I'm full of temper right now. Charlotte Linlin stopped Hancock on the other side and cast a cold gaze at Lin Yan. She still remembers the previous grudge. The addition of two powerful forces, the Beast's pirates and the Big Mom pirates, has made the entire battle balanced again. Seeing this scene, Lin Yan stood up and was ready to take action. Anyway, the celestial dragons will die today, I said. Then just when Lin Yan was about to take action, several lonely guys suddenly appeared without anyone noticing. Hey, Lin, we haven't seen each other for a long time, and you've made some big news for me again? Shanks looked at Lin Yan and smiled. His expression was still as lazy as ever, as if nothing in the world could bother this man. Then Lin Yan also laughed. What? Are you planning to be the peacemaker again? Don't blame me for not giving you face this time. Haha. That's a bit too ignorant, isn't it? Shanks laughed and immediately drew the sword from his waist. This is not something I can fix, Mahawk, to my left. Then to my right. Hawkeye nodded and charged forward with Shanks. The two great swordsmen were at the top of their game, so naturally they couldn't be stopped by others. What surprised Lin Yan was that Doflamingo and Tetsolo actually came, but it was understandable that for a guy like Doflamingo, there was nothing more suitable than now to achieve his ambition of destroying the world government. Hey. Can't you resist it after all? The addition of Shanks and others was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and the originally evenly matched battlefield began to collapse in an instant. As for the world government, there is no other force that can be used. Kong sighed secretly. My heart was already prepared for the outcome of defeat. As a marine, all he can do now is try his best to resist. As for the outcome, he can only do his best and accept fate. Lin Yan naturally noticed this scene, but did not speak. He actually respects the persistence of Kong and others. But the positions are different, and there is nothing to say. The power of the world government is rapidly collapsing, and it has lost its ability to control the battlefield. The Celestial Dragon's trump card was temporarily blocked by Whitebeard. Facing countless powerful pirates, anyone with a discerning eye can see that they cannot resist. Defeat is a foregone conclusion. And at this critical moment, a voice suddenly echoed throughout the battlefield. Have you had enough trouble? The entire battlefield became silent for an instant. It's not an adjective, but it really quieted down. Everyone seemed to be under an immobilization spell. The pirates and marines who were originally killing each other stood still, as if the pause button had been pressed. The only ones who can move are the top strong men. This is. Even people like Whitebeard retreated to Lin Yan with a solemn expression, and everyone looked at the sky in unison. On top of the Holy Land Mariejois, a figure suddenly appeared. This is a very tall man. Can't see the specific appearance clearly. Only a pair of scarlet pupils stood out. Most of the people who looked into that line of sight subconsciously looked away, and only a few of the strongest people present were immune. He just stood in the void, easily controlling the silent battlefield. Like a real god. I am. Lin Yan narrowed his eyes and looked at the man and asked. If there is anyone in the entire pirate world who possesses such powerful power, then it is undoubtedly the self-proclaimed god and the immediate boss of the five elders, I am Sama. You know me? When Lin Yan called out his name, surprise appeared on Im's face for the first time. You must know that he has never appeared in front of the world. The whole world knows that he exists only by the number of hands. Lin Yan, who suddenly appeared in front of him, actually knows him. Looking at Lin Yan, who was so rested, Im was afraid for the first time. This man is full of unknowns, even for him. After thinking for a while, Im slowly spoke. How about retreating here and pretending that nothing happened? Are you giving in? No, I'm just looking for the best result. Im shook her head calmly, and then looked at Lin Yan, as if he was hesitating, but finally asked. I don't understand. What's the benefit of this to you? If you just want wealth and power, you can use another method instead of tearing down and rebuilding, right? Im asked Lin Yan, very confused. With the power of the man in front of him, whether it is wealth, women, or status, everything is within his reach. As long as Lin Yan shows some intention to cooperate with the world government, all of this can be easily obtained. Even if Lin Yan is strong enough, Im wouldn't mind sharing power with him. The world is big. There is room for two gods. As for justice, that kind of boring thing, Im didn't think Lin Yan would care about it. Faced with Im's confused gaze, Lin Yan just grinned. Those things don't matter. I just see that you guys are unhappy. Is this reason enough? Maybe that's enough. Im's expression turned angry, and the next moment thunder struck. An extremely strange power spread, and a huge light burst out from the sky above Mariejois. Anyone who came into contact with this light disappeared completely as if it was erased by an eraser. Regardless of the reason, no distinction is made between friend and foe. What God wants to do is cleanse the world. The top experts still had room to retreat, but looking at that terrifying light, everyone couldn't help but have blank expressions on their faces. How to fight this? Only Lin Yan is different. Do you think you have the time to do such a thing in front of me? A wild smile appeared on Lin Yan's face, and then, with everyone's disbelieving expressions, he stopped directly in front of I am. That terrifying light had no effect on him. God? That's it. Climb farther away. Sure enough, you are the same as me. I am not surprised at all. If Lin Yan in front of him couldn't even show this strength, he might be disappointed instead. Im's expression was calm, until he saw Lin Yan take out a sword. It should be. It's a sword, right? It was a very strange weapon. It looked like a mallet with 3 cylinders connected together, with scarlet lines shining brightly on it. The moment the Julie sword appeared, a strong sense of crisis began to erupt in Im's heart. He has never seen such a strange weapon, and it is so powerful that it is suffocating. Just the occasional aura from the sword made him tremble with fear. What's this? For the first time, Yi Emu's expression lost its calmness. He looked at the Julie sword in Lin Yan's hand with surprise and uncertainty. His intuition told him that he couldn't stop this thing. However, Lin Yan didn't even bother to answer his question. God? Then you deserve to die today. This is what will bury you. Don't blink at me next time. Death by this sword will not be considered an insult to you. Buzz. The 3 cylinders on the Julie sword began to rotate rapidly, and at the same time, an extremely powerful scarlet power also exploded in the space. Even the surrounding space couldn't bear it. Wherever it was covered by this scarlet light, the space shattered like glass. If you can do it, come and try it. Im's expression was ferocious. At this moment, he truly felt that his life was in danger. Without any reservation at the moment, I am roared angrily, and the light erupted from Mariejois suddenly rose up, trying to compete with Lin Yan. But it's all in vain. Facing IMU, who had a ferocious expression on his face, Lin Yan just raised the Quilla sword with a calm expression, and then slowly spoke out the true name of the noble phantasm. The creation of heaven and earth, the star of perversion. Everything is gone. Under the scarlet storm, I am, Mariejois behind him, and even the surrounding space were completely annihilated. In Sumerian myths and legends, this sword once opened up the world and divided the sky and the earth into 2 when chaos first opened. It is a genuine anti-realm treasure, the pinnacle of all noble phantasms. Such power is something that the god of celestial dragons can't compete with. Mariejois's fate was doomed from the beginning. Everyone who still had the ability to move looked at this scene blankly. The holy place Mariejois is just gone? The truth is unbelievable. But it really just happened. With Im's demise, the power that imprisoned people also began to fade. Marine and the pirates who didn't understand at all subconsciously redline, and then showed dull expressions. At this time, Lin Yan had put away his sword and came to Kong and other marine generals. Continue? Keep going, keep going. With the terrifying power just now, I am afraid that the combined power of the entire world government is not enough to stab someone with a sword. Also give me a thumbs up. Kong is helpless. Obviously as a marine, his position should be to firmly protect Mariejois. As a result, Mariejois is now completely ruined. The so-called god has never lived past 2 chapters. Is this a big deal? Hey, it's true that the waves behind push the waves ahead, I'm convinced. Kong sighed. At this point, the war was over. There was still an absolutely invincible existence standing in front of him. Continuing to fight like this was just a sacrifice in vain. So there is only one choice left for Kong. That's it, we surrender. Kong said this feebly. No, I never agree. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Akainu on the other side roared angrily and looked at Kong with a stern expression. As Marines, our duty is to fight until the last moment. Even if we shed the last drop of blood. Do you still count yourself as a Marine? Kong opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, Whitebeard on the other side patted Akainu on the shoulder, and then an amiable smile appeared on his face. Come on, young man. I heard that you want to bleed the last drop of blood. Lousy wouldn't mind helping you, and by the way, settle our accounts. Yes, Sakazuki, you said so. We will definitely entertain you well. You bastard, die. Akainu. Akainu was dragged away. You have to know that this guy has offended a lot of people. If he dares to jump out at this juncture, isn't he looking for death? The next scene is naturally unsightly. In just over an hour, under the warm reception of many powerful people, Akainu only had the energy to vent his anger. In the end, Whitebeard was magnanimous and motioned for everyone to take Akainu away for treatment, and the matter came to an end. As for the final fate of this guy, Lin Yan is hard to say. By the way, the hard thing to say is the method of death. The episode about Akainu ended here, and the next thing became very simple. Under the leadership of a group of Marine senior generals headed by Kong, Marine finally chose to surrender. This war that affected the whole world has finally come to an end. The end, of course, is the complete destruction of the celestial dragons in the world government. But Lin Yan's matter is not over yet. On the battlefield where the smoke was still burning, a group of people looked forward eagerly, looking with burning eyes at Lin Yan, who was pushed to the high platform by a group of people. Lin Yan. Are you primary school students? You still want to listen to the speech after winning? But after all, I still need to express it a little bit, although Lin Yan is not good at this kind of thing at all. So under the gaze of everyone, Lin Yan scratched his head. You're talking nonsense. Let me crawl on you. Just do whatever you have to do. Haha. The crowd burst into good-natured laughter. It's just that everyone understands in their hearts. This time, a new era is really coming. Compared to the battle that affected the world, the days to come were calm. Even Lin Yan didn't expect it. The final outcome is Jiangguo? I'm a good guy. I would like to call it a classic within a classic. And Lin Yan naturally became His Majesty the Emperor of the new empire. Even though he himself had no idea about any of this. Only with the ardent suggestions of Whitebeard and others, I reluctantly took this position. After all, except for Lin Yan, no one had such qualifications. Of course Lin Yan said he didn't care. After all, if you have this time, wouldn't it be nice to enjoy life with your wives? The world has changed dramatically. The world government that had ruled for 800 years was completely destroyed, and was replaced by a huge empire that spanned the entire world. All the scholars of Ohara were employed as codifiers. Then under the strong advice of these old pedants, the new empire took its name from the once great kingdom. As for the end of celestial dragons, it was very bleak. He died suddenly on the spot in Mariejois, and those who were lucky enough to be away from home also lived a life of being hunted by the whole world. Lin Yan expressed his emotional stability about this. And it is recommended to increase efforts. The pirates, under the leadership of Whitebeard and other emperors, have also ushered in a major overhaul. At least the same random and wanton things as before will never happen again. Otherwise, the Four Emperors group is probably going to screw someone's head off. The era of great pirates is finally gone. It is worth mentioning that, whether due to pressure or other reasons, Charlotte Linlin and Kaido also behaved like sheep. Impel Down, which is currently being rebuilt, is sitting in jail. The warden and jailers expressed their joy. After all, we all know it. If you can't beat him, don't be reasonable. It's good to be alive, so what else do you need a bicycle? 20 years is not unbearable. As for Marine. Well, Marine is still Marine. It's just that they have now embarked on the path of truly protecting civilians, become independent from the entire system, and have been given great power. In this regard, Kong, Sengoku, Garp and Zephyr and other old guys expressed their opinions. Let go. Lousy can still work for another 20 years. After these things, a few years later, the pirate world has completely calmed down. Even if there are occasional disputes, they are controlled within a certain range. Over the years, Lin Yan has been to Sky Island, visited the tomb of the king on the Fishmen Island, and naturally found the legendary final place Raftel. As for the historical truth, after learning everything, Lin Yan just nodded. Then an order was issued. Digging up the ancestral graves of the celestial dragons. Sure enough, it was too cheap to let them die before. During these years, people were always surprised to see that their wise and invincible emperor was followed by a group of pretty girls wherever he went. Hancock opened 9 Snake Island and turned it into a world-famous tourist attraction. The fish people were able to see the light of day again. Shirahoshi always traveled around the world with his parents and a large group of sea kings, witnessing the sunshine of the new world with his eyes. As for Odahime, don't ask, just ask and Time Train will take care of everything. Kuina is still pursuing her dream, but she may never be able to beat Lin Yan in her life, so she can only compete at night. Robin became a famous archaeologist with Nicole Albia. Ain is still Lin Yan's most loyal follower. Everyone gets their ideal life. From one day onwards, people were surprised to find that Lin Yan seemed to only wander around, never paying attention to worldly affairs. This really stumped a lot of people, but they were surprised to find out. Even if he doesn't care about world affairs, the empire is still running normally. In fact, Lin Yan also arranged for countless experts to participate in it. With their help, he can sit back and relax. However, at this moment, the long-lost system heard movement again. Ding. Dear host, congratulations on completing your achievement and traveling across the world of pirates. You have a chance to randomly travel through. Do you want to use it? Lin Yan. Huh? Random time travel? Soon, Lin Yan understood. Did he get another chance to travel through time? Now Lin Yan's strength has long surpassed that of the 4 emperors, and he has long been bored in the world of pirates. And almost all the enemies that should be there have been swept away. This world has been around for too long, it's boring. System, can I come back? Lin Yan was interested in visiting other worlds. It was actually quite good. But he was a little worried. What if he traveled through the past and couldn't come back? If that was really the case, then he would rather not travel through time. After all, there was still someone he couldn't let go of in this world. Of course. The system responded. After hearing the system's reply, Lin Yan felt relieved and could sit back and relax. Then give it a try. Ding, the world is being randomly selected. The sound of the turntable appeared in Lin Yan's mind, and then the answer emerged. Congratulations to host, the randomly selected world is Hokage Ninja. Hokage. Lin Yan looked at the random results. He touched his chin with one hand and a strong look appeared in his eyes. Then go and see, within the next time. Lin Yan spent time with his family, and told them that they were going on a long journey. After explaining clearly, Lin Yan set out on the road to Hokage. System, open the portal. But he saw a mist of light appearing in front of Lin Yan, and then a glowing door slowly emerged from the mist. It opened slowly, filled with chaos. Although you can't see clearly what's inside, it's very fascinating. Lin Yan looked back at the world. Then he resolutely stepped into the portal.